4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street, Welcome on in to what is a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in, 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZachGelb. You know, I'm in a $1 million bucks mood type of mood today. Like, I'm feeling sensational. I do. I went to the ballpark last night. I saw the Mets just pound the crap out of the Phillies once again. I had a few tasty treats at the ballpark. I had a chicken bucket with some mac and cheese bites, which were really damn good. I did try the chicken bacon ranch egg roll. It was good. It wasn't as great as it looked. And also, the Los Angeles Lakers won last night. So I'm not only a selfish person in terms of, oh, Zach, the Mets beat the Phillies. You know, they own the Phillies right now. We got the NFL draft coming your way tomorrow. So today is a very exciting show for us. But I always like to see other people happy. And I don't think there's another person I work with right now than Stuart Kovacs that I would rather see happy, right? And we got a little run from his Notre Dame football team, the little engine that could choo-choo all the way to the college football national championship game. And that was a good moment for Stu because his Raiders stink. They're a disaster. Now, we'll look over his Yankees as Stu roots for a bunch of different teams. But Stu's Los Angeles Lakers, for the last year or two, he has hate-watched the Los Angeles Lakers. And after game one, they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Stu was down in the dumps. And last night, LeBron, more importantly, Luka, they showed up. They said, bleep Nico Harrison, and now this series is all tied at 1 apiece. And I know why they got that victory last night. Because Stu got blood taken out of his body yesterday. And he had that blue armband on. And I said, I thought was a good deed because I thought he was donating blood, but in reality, he was just getting blood work done. But Stu came to the studio yesterday like a warrior, no complaints, no drama whatsoever. And Stu showed up with that blue armband on. And I said, if the Los Angeles Lakers win, we need to see that armband on tomorrow. And I'm looking at Stu right now. It's tough to see through the glass if Stu has the armband on. Is it there?
We have a problem, Zach.
What happened?
It did not survive the shower this morning.
Oh, my God.
So the armband is gone. Fell right off. I was showering and it plop right off. Gone.
It just snapped?
It's just like the adhesiveness went away, if you will.
Oh, my God. So it disintegrated right before our eyes?
Not good.
You didn't scoop it back up off the floor and pin it to your chest or something?
I feel like at that point, the damage has been done.
Well, you know what, folks? Bow your heads, everyone. We're going to have a moment of silence. Thank you. And that moment of silence was not only for Stu's blue armband, but also the Lakers season. If they lose this series, if Anthony Edwards starts to show up and be an assassin, I expect Barrett Sports Media, I expect Awful Announcing to do a deep dive into the armband that snapped that broke the Lakers season. How do you let that armband break? How do you, sometimes when you get surgery, and you have to put on a protective sleeve when you go into the shower. How didn't you put on one of those, what looks like a shower condom pretty much just on your arm? How did you do that?
Yeah, I probably should have thought that through before I showered this morning, but yeah, not ideal.
Oh, boy.
Makes me feel worse about the win now because I'm going to get blamed when they lose.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. Minnesota now in 5. That's what's going to happen. They're going to win in 5. Because Shannon Sharp has his own issues right now, Stu, so you become the biggest Laker fan in the national landscape. That's just the truth. And you just let that shower band, the shower just snap that band of yours, and now there's no chance whatsoever that the Los Angeles Lakers are going on a deep run. Anyway, we're in a good mood today. Ryan Hot Take Hickey, well, I said we were in a good mood. We'll probably be in a bad mood about 35 minutes from now. Ryan Hot Take Hickey's going to join us coming up at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. He'll give us his spiciest takes for the NFL draft. Also in the 4 p.m. Eastern time hour, we are doing a yearly tradition. It's the Zach Gelb Show top 10 mock draft. We have experts from every city when we take a look at the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Football Giants, the New England Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Duval, the Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Jets, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Chicago Bears. And we will do a mock draft, and we will react to the 10 picks that those quote-unquote experts do make. And then Joe Thomas, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, he's going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. You know, Joe Thomas is announcing the Cleveland Browns' second-round pick at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I'm going to try to throw kind of a Zach Gelb Show life raft out there to Joe Thomas and see if he will reel us in, and maybe he could give us like a little shout-out. Imagine if Joe Thomas gets up there for the Browns' second-round selection, which I think is the 33rd pick, which is the first pick in the second round, and he goes, "This is for Zach. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Hoo, hoo." So that would be pretty cool if Joe Thomas could give us a little love here at the Infinity Sports Network. So we have a very active show today and a very crazy show today, and it's going to be a fun sprint for the next 3 hours. Okay, here is what I'm buzzing about right now. I am buzzing about Peter Schrager's one and only mock draft. Now, I understand some people have a job to do. Stu and I have a job to do on a daily basis, and we did like 7 or 8 mock drafts. It was fun through the last 7 or 8 weeks. A guy like a Chris Trapasso or a Ryan Wilson or a Mel Kiper or Phil Yates, who's starting to look like Mel Kiper, or Todd McShay, they got to pump out these mock drafts just over and over and over and over and over again. Peter Schrager, though, is a very respected voice in the NFL community. Peter Schrager gives one and only one mock draft each and every year, and it's the day or 2 days before the actual draft does happen. And last year, if you recall, right, this isn't Schrager related, but Adam Schefter said, "Hey, folks, 2 days before the draft," and this came out of nowhere, "Michael Penix Jr. could go 8 to the Falcons." I'm hearing it, right? And then he also said, "Ooh, the Broncos could get Bo Nix at 12. I'm hearing that's a possibility." And let's be real, you had bozos like myself and Stu that last year we sat on the radio for like 3-4 months leading into the draft, and guess what? None of us were able to predict that Michael Penix Jr. was going to go 8 to the Falcons, or Bo Nix could have gone 12th to the Denver Broncos. If you would have called me up last year at this time, and you would have said, "Zach, I got intel that the Falcons have the 8th overall pick and they're going to draft Michael Penix Jr.," I would say, "How long were you at Magic City last night? And what were you smoking? And was Stuart Kovacs with you?" And I probably would have said those same questions when it comes to the Denver Broncos. Like, what are you smoking if you told me 2 days before the draft or a day before the draft last year that Bo Nix was going to be the 12th overall pick? And really, the reason I bring this up is because the news cycle goes in bizarre waves with the NFL draft. Just look at the Cleveland Browns. It went from Shedeur Sanders 2nd overall to then Abdul Carter, and now everyone anticipates Travis Hunter is going to be the 2nd overall pick. Abdul Carter will go 3 to the Giants, and then a lot of people expect Shedeur Sanders to fall and potentially fall all the way to 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think the most obvious mock draft opinion outside of, like, the most consistent mock draft opinion outside of Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans, but even then, there was some thought maybe Mike Borgonzi would say goodbye to the pick and he would trade down, or maybe they go Abdul Carter, or maybe they go Travis Hunter. But I think the most consistent mock draft opinion for the last month or two is Mason Graham going 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's been the opinion. And you talk about things just going all over the place and just moving all around the world. The Raiders at 6 were another team that about a month and a half ago, it was, will Shedeur Sanders fall there? And now the fact that it looks like Shedeur Sanders is going to fall there, in the last month and a half, people have been saying, "Oh, Ashton Jeanty is going to be the pick with the Raiders." Well, when I went to Peter Schrager's one and only one mock draft, and his lone mock draft, which he did put out there, Peter Schrager now with ESPN, these are how the first 6 picks did go. Number 1, Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans, expected. Number 2, Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns. Expected. Number 3, Abdul Carter to the New York Football Giants. Expected. Number 4, Will Campbell. Will Campbell to the New England Patriots. Expected. And then this was the mic drop. Oh, no, he didn't. Wow. Peter Schrager bomb that I haven't seen projected anywhere until Peter Schrager put out this mock draft. Ashton Jeanty, our guy, Ashton Jeanty to the Jacksonville Jaguars in at number 5. Stu, we are a day away from the 2025 NFL Draft. You went from, I want Shedeur Sanders, to I'm okay with them passing up on Shedeur Sanders. I'm in on Ashton Jeanty with your Raiders. Now Peter Schrager is predicting that Armin Membu would then be the pick to the Raiders at 6, and Ashton Jeanty will be off the board at 5. I know your Lakers season, even though it was saved last night, but then it's going to poof into thin air because you didn't stick with that blue armband on your arm. Now you may need to do something else, like a special dance tonight, or you may have to have some different superstition, because Stu is very superstitious. Because Jeanty, the guy that you have now warmed up to, the guy that you would now want, may not be on the board when the Raiders pick at 6. So Schrager only does one mock draft. And to have this intel now, which really no one else was talking about, Jeanty going 5 to the Jaguars, I not only think now that this is a possibility, I'm actually going to anticipate the draft of the first 5 picks to look like this. Cam Ward 1 to Tennessee, Travis Hunter 2 to Cleveland, Abdul Carter 3 to the Giants, my boy the alligator arms in Will Campbell going 4 to my New England Patriots, and then Ashton Jeanty to the Jaguars at 5. Stu, your reaction?
So it's pretty much the spot that you were kind of worried about with Hunter and Carter not being there for your Patriots. Yeah. This is now for me kind of my nightmare in terms of they're not going to take a quarterback. I'd be stunned if they took Shedeur at 6. Now the fact that Jeanty is gone, I mean, I'm okay with an offensive lineman, but it's not as exciting as Jeanty.
Now, here's the other interesting thing. Is Mason Graham about to fall? I think Mason Graham is the 3rd best player in the NFL draft. Just pound for pound player. Abdul Carter's 1, Travis Hunter 2, Mason Graham 3, Ashton Jeanty 4, Tyler Warren 5. I'm looking at Schrager's mock draft. And he has Cam Ward to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to Cleveland, Abdul Carter to the Giants, Will Campbell to New England, Ashton Jeanty to Jacksonville, Armin Membu to Las Vegas, Tyler Warren to the Jets at 7, Jalen Walker to the Panthers at 8, Michael Williams to the Saints at 9, and then he has the Colts trading up to 10, the Bears falling back, Colston Loveland going to Indianapolis, Walter Nolan going to the 49ers in at 11, Tyler Booker, the offensive lineman, going to the Cowboys at 12, and then Mason Graham falling all the way to 13. Think about that. A guy that has been projected by most to be the obvious pick at 5 for the Jaguars. According to Peter Schrager, he has him falling all the way to 13. So here are my reactions to Peter Schrager's mock draft. Number 1, Jeanty is off the board by the time the Raiders pick at 6, and Jeanty is the pick of the Jaguars at 5, which I don't hate it. Because you have Jeanty, you have ATN towards the end of his deal in Jacksonville. You also have Brian Thomas, the wide receiver who was sensational last year, and you're trying to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, who so far has been up and down and more down than up so far in his NFL career. So that's one takeaway, is that Jeanty going to the Jaguars. The other takeaway, Mason Graham going to the Dolphins at 13. I'd be very surprised if he falls out of the top 10, but who knows? Schrager knows something. And then finally, where's Shedeur? Because Shedeur is the biggest story of this draft. And Peter Schrager has Shedeur Sanders going to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 21st overall selection of the draft. And you know what's wild? Will Johnson, who was projected top 5 last year, Peter Schrager has him fallen all the way to 28. 28 to the Lions. So he would stay in the state of Michigan, going from the Wolverines to the Detroit Lions. So how about that? A little Schrager bomb, and we'll see if it turns out to be true. Could this be his Adam Schefter moment, where last year Shefty called his shot with information on Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix? Could this be the Schrager moment, the Schrager time to shine, as he has Ashton Jeanty going to the Jaguars with Duval with the 5th overall selection? Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. News brief next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, we opened up the show talking about Peter Schrager's one and only mock draft. And even though he did have the Cleveland Browns taking Travis Hunter at 2 and Abdul Carter going 3 to the Giants, his most fascinating opinion so far is Ashton Jeanty to 5 to the Jaguars and Mason Graham falling out of the top 10 all the way to 13 to the Miami Dolphins. Peter Schrager still says on ESPN, though, that there's intrigue at 2 and 3 now, and there's a lot of trade calls being made.
2 is where it gets interesting. The same teams that have been calling the Titans are calling the Browns. And the Browns, unlike the Titans, are listening. And their phone lines are open. And the Giants, some calls have been made to. The same thing there. So every year you have GMs making phone calls, just trying to get a feel for it. But I could say with great certainty that both the Browns at 2 and the Giants at 3, phone lines are open, and they're not telling teams, no, we're set. Travis Hunter's our guy, or Abdul Carter's our guy. Both those teams, the door is still open, and they are listening to calls. Whether or not that's where they go or not, it's a different story, but it at least leads to some intrigue, and it might just not be chalk at the top of the draft.
So I think you could listen. I think that's fine. I would be very surprised, though, if both of those teams are passing up on quarterbacks with GMs that are on the hot seat, and Andrew Berry and Peter Schrager, they don't then take the 2 best players in this draft in Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Let's go to Mickey Loomis. Remember this Derek Carr injury that just popped up out of nowhere, and it wasn't the injury that he suffered towards the end of the season, and now people are wondering if there's more to this injury? Well, this is what Mickey Loomis had to say on Derek Carr's injury the other day.
He does have an issue with his shoulder. We're hoping to get some resolution and clarity on that in the near future, and when we do, I'll report back to you. Otherwise, I don't have anything more.
Alrighty, so basically no update from the Saints brass. Let's go to the Cowboys brass. Last year, they were all in. Pause, comma, Skip Bayless, my ass. That's what ended up happening. This year, they were going to be selectively aggressive. I guess they haven't selected to be aggressive yet. Here is Stephen Jones on this year's offseason for the Cowboys.
I think we did overall a much better job than, say, last year of really, doing quite a bit of volume in terms of really improving our roster. I think our work we did in free agency is going to really pay off. I think it's going to make us a deeper football team one way or the other, and what we add through this draft should, just make us better most of the time. 99% of the time, that's our goal in free agency, not necessarily to go out and sign, the highest paid guys.
Hey, Stu, what they do in free agency? Seriously?
Almost sounds like a fake quote. They did nothing.
Was this AI? They got that defensive tackle that they paid $80 million to. It's what else did you do? And that was one of their own anyway. It wasn't like they brought in somebody else. They re-signed their own defensive tackle. So what did they really do? Oh, they got Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. Oh, you know what? Clap it up. How about them Cowboys? They've done nothing. We sit here and talk football daily. I'm pretty plugged in when it comes to the NFL. Re-signing one of your own on the defensive side of the ball to an $80 million deal, that's the most memorable part of this offseason so far for the Drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Oh, they got Jack Sanborn. Okay. He has a whopping 4.5 career sacks. Big moves. Cam Jurgens. He got a new deal from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a Pro Bowler. 4 years, $68 million, 39.4 guaranteed. Contract runs through 2029. Now, I haven't heard this audio yet, but the slug line here is on his first purchase after his new deal. Stu, have you heard this audio yet? Just wondering.
I have, yes.
Okay. I'm going to take a guess on what it could be. it's going to be something bizarre, right? It's not like, oh, I got a new truck, or I got, a brand new house. I got a Lamborghini. I'm going to say he got a tractor. Is that what it was? Was it a tractor?
This was not a tractor, no.
Okay.
You're never going to guess.
Never? Can I get a hint?
It's not like a physical thing. It's not like something like you hold. It's not like a physical thing like a car that you buy.
Okay. You got a stack of pancakes because he gives a lot of pancakes on the offensive line?
It's not food either.
Oh, my God. Play the answer.
Hey, Ken, congrats. Last year, Landon told us his big purchase was the mower when he got paid. Do you have anything in mind for yourself?
I haven't given it too much thought. I feel like I fly a lot, so I might look into this thing called like TSA pre-check. I feel like that sounds like it's a good idea. I'm kind of tired of waiting in lines. I think I could afford that, so I don't know. I think I'm going to look into TSA pre-check next and see if I can get that done.
Now, I have TSA pre-check. It is not expensive. I think it's like $80 or something like that, $75, and it lasts for like 5 years. Cam, before this deal, you could get TSA pre-check. What are we doing? You Cam frickin' Jurgens. You make all this money, and now since you got millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on a long-term deal, when you already made a good amount of money, oh, now you get TSA pre-check? Oh, my God. You're right. I would have never got that one. That's stunning. Chris Haynes was on the Dan Patrick Show. Will Giannis Antetokounmpo finish his career in Milwaukee? The Bucks are down 0-2.
Will Giannis finish his career in Milwaukee?
I don't think so. I just, this is going to be a pivotal playoff. These 2025 playoffs for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's going to be pivotal. If they don't get to the finals, win the finals, or even make a deep run, you can probably see some wholesale changes going on in Milwaukee. From, you can go from coaching staff, from front office to the players. Like it can be a pretty big, significant wholesale if the Milwaukee Bucks don't make a significant run this postseason.
Could you see them trading Giannis?
I could see them going in a different direction, and I can see that possibility if things go sour this postseason for sure.
Look at the leapfrog effect here. Bill Ryder said this in the winter. We then took Bart Winkler and had them fight. Then we had Bill repeat it the other day when he was in studio. Brian Geltzeiler has also leapfrogged and said the same thing. And now you have Chris Haynes leapfrogging both of those guys and saying the same thing that they've been saying. So I usually defend Giannis and defend Milwaukee and say he ain't leaving. I can't sit there and be like Jordan Belfort and now say, oh, yeah, I'm not bleeping leaving. I think where there's smoke, there's a fire, and this could be the last straw here. And it looks like the Bucks are going to lose this series to the Pacers. They're only down 0-2, but it does not look good right now. Let's go to Doc Rivers. Is he happy with where his team is right now? Oh, boy.
Going into Game 3, you mentioned trending in the right direction, but also starting some of the struggles there. Clearly, you've switched it up in the second half, right? To go with, I guess you just start Game 3 and trust that adjustments will be made and things.
We'll just see. We have time. We have 48 hours. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing right now because I don't know. But we'll figure it out. I'm very confident about this series.
Okay. Oh. I guess the best thing for Doc Rivers isn't up 3-1. Maybe he'll have a comeback left in him this time around. Let's go to Tyrese Halliburton. He was recently voted the most overrated player in the NBA. This is how he responded to it.
It didn't impact the way I played today at all. I must be doing something right, if that's the case. I don't have a big speech or comment on it. All I care about is this locker room and winning games, and we're in position to, go to Milwaukee and continue this series on. So not too worried about that. I know I am. I'm confident in my own skin and not worried about what anybody thinks. My teammates trust me. So does my front office, my coaching staff. So I'm good. I could care less.
One tone there on that voice. Sometimes that voice goes to two different tones. Didn't happen there. Let's see Rick Carlisle take it to the next level on this anonymous poll.
There was an anonymous player poll that came out, and the players voted Tyrese as the most overrated player in the league. He's been candid about.
I heard about this, and the other guys on the list were Jimmy Butler and Giannis. All right, and I want to see. I want to see the guys' faces that voted those guys. I want to see the faces of those guys. All right, this is a bullshit poll. Not everybody even answered in the poll. All right, guys were able to answer if they wanted to. They were asked on camera or with a microphone. The whole thing's bullshit. Okay, and it's just it's really a shameful thing. It's just a shameful thing. All right, Jimmy Butler would be a finalist for MVP if he had gotten to Golden State a month and a half earlier. I mean, what that guy's done. And Giannis, are you kidding me? I'm done. Thank you.
He's my favorite coach in the NBA right now, Rick Carlisle. Love that answer. That's spectacular. Will Campbell, how about the short arms criticism?
It's not exhausting. I've heard it since I was 14 years old. The school that I just went to, they said the same thing to me. My coaches, that everybody's had a concern with my arm length since I was 14 years old and I got my first offer. I didn't let it become a problem now, or then. I'm not going to now. There's some teams that want to play me at guard, and I'm fully willing to do that because I'm a team guy first. I want to win, and I want to win now. I don't want to wait, and if that means me playing early, me winning, is me at guard, me at X receiver, me at tight end, that's what I'm going to do. So, like I said, wherever the opportunity presents itself for me to get on the field as fast as possible is what I'm going to do.
That's my offensive lineman. That's my offensive lineman. And finally, Abdul Carter talks Giants before the draft.
Which teams did you speak to that you have the best feeling about going in?
We're definitely in New York right now, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.
If you were a New York Giant, following the footsteps of other Penn Staters like Saquon Barkley, Lamar Harrington, what do you think about that opportunity?
It'd be a blessing. I'd love to take advantage of that opportunity.
How did your meetings go with the Giants?
I think it went well. Definitely got a good feeling with them, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Will you bring an explosiveness to the table?
For sure. I'm bringing everything. For sure.
Look at Bruce Beck. I know that voice. He's trying to get that big answer for the NBC4 news report. And Abdul Carter, a little bit. Yeah, the Giants talked to him, blah, 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 but not much after that. All right, that's the news brief. Ryan Hot Take Hickey will join us in studio next with his hottest and spiciest NFL draft takes. Also at the top of the hour, 10 teams, 10 insiders, 10 picks. We will do our Zach Gelb show, top 10 NFL mock draft. Update time. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the NBA playoffs tonight continue with a trio of games, but first, this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Boston won the series opener easily despite a quiet start to the series from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics look to go up 2-0 tonight over the Magic. The Cavaliers, sparked by their backcourt in the series opener, and also looking to go up 2-0 on the Heat, while the Rockets host the Warriors, looking to even the series at 1. Houston was putrid from three-point range in the series opener, shooting 6 for 29 from long range. Baseball today, top of the 9th. The Reds trying to close out the Marlins, up 4-2 on Miami, while the Yankees lead the Guardians 5-1 in the bottom of the 8th. And the Mets and Phillies are headed to the bottom of the 8th, even at 2, as Juan Soto threw out the go-ahead run at the plate to end the top half of the inning. These are finals. It was the Braves over the Cardinals by a score of 4-1. Eli White with a 3-run homer in the 8th to lift Atlanta. And the Tigers blanked the Padres by a score of 6-0. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The piping hot takes of Ryan Hot Take Hickey do not, I repeat, do not reflect the views of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's Hickey at night Sunday, I'm combing our hair with moose gel and spray. The takes are so hot, 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 sometimes it's right, usually not. This best segment is coming up next, but you better watch out for the Hickey head. Hot takes and hair gel on a Sunday night. Hickey's dropping takes that probably aren't right. Dropping a teaser for what's coming up next, but you better watch out for the Hickey heads. Talking Penn State while Stu's smoking kush, but Hickey is always the #1 mush. You will nice and moist, might get more sober than Stu. We only joke of us, we like you, but I have to ask, is it true? Is your hair held together by pace and loop? Oh, Hickey's takes are coming up next, but you better watch out for the Hickey Hicks.
NFL general managers are tuning into this show right now just for this segment because they want to hear Ryan Hot Take Hickey's spicy, and I mean spicy, NFL draft takes so they know to do the opposite or just find a way to ignore him altogether if he's going to be praising him and saying, yeah, I like this pick. No. Let me think about it again. Maybe I should go back to my draft board and pick somebody else. So that's a big honor on you. You got GM, all 32 NFL GMs. Joe Shane texted me, Brandon Bean, Veach, Howie Roseman. They're all listening to the show right now.
I take this very seriously. I came with notes, so I hope the GMs are listening because if you want to have a good draft, you do what I say, the opposite. Unlike George Costanza, doing the opposite would not work for you.
Wait, can I see those notes just real quickly?
Sure. I don't want. Well, some of them I can't.
Okay.
Because what we're going to talk about, I want to spoil the shock and the awe.
Let me tell you.
But I wrote down a few names.
That could be the most prepared any producer or host has ever been at this network.
Wow.
Those are a lot of notes.
Bars low.
I said producer and host, Santa and Stu, don't cry. I didn't throw you guys under the bus. I said producers and hosts.
That is what, a pool of very few people?
What do you mean?
Are you saying producers and hosts or people that produce and host on this? Okay.
Separation. All the above. I know, but we get very particular around
no,
here. Your producer, your host. We're one big family here.
That we are.
All right. Give me your first spicy NFL draft hot take.
Okay, first one here. If the Raiders draft Ashton Jeanty, it is the worst pick of the entire draft. The entire 2025 draft. I don't care who goes where. Otherwise, it's the worst pick.
Now, I don't know if you realized I was there yesterday, but I was in the newsroom, just minding my own business. I walked out of the studio during a break, just seeing who I could talk to.
Okay.
And Stu Kovacs comes right around the corner, and he goes, I can't believe you would say that Ashton Jeanty is going to be the worst pick of the draft. How dumb are you? Are you the biggest moron that we have here at the Infinity Sports
Thank you for cleaning
Network?
it up, because Stu said it a lot.
Yes. He said,
more.
are you the
NSFW.
dumbest mother bleeping moron that we have at this mother bleeping network?
It was JJ Redick-esque from last night. It was along those lines.
So, Stu, now we have Hickey here in person on the air. And this may not be the pick anymore because it could be a little Ashton Jeanty going to Jacksonville. Anything you would like to say to Ryan Hot Take Hickey?
This might be a moot point at this point, but yeah, I just don't think it would be the worst pick. I understand the Raiders have 10 needs, at least. They have a ton of needs. But taking what might be the best available player or second best available player on the board, I don't know. I just can't get... There's going to be a pick that we're like, huh? At like 25, there's going to be a pick where we're like, who? The guy was like the 50th best prospect taken that high. There's no way that's going to be worse than Jeanty.
I'm with Stu. I don't understand your explanation. Or the thought that he would be the worst pick.
Here's why. It's not even... I like Ashton Jeanty as a player. He's very good. But
I don't know if you do. It doesn't sound like you do.
Number one, the running back position, more than any other position, is reliant on the 5 guys blocking for you. The Raiders last year had the worst rushing attack in all the NFL. They were putrid.
You were probably the same guy that when the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley, you were like, oh, I love the pick because he goes to Penn State. Oh, it's spectacular. But now it's because there's a Boise State running back and it's Stu's potential Raiders or it's Liam Cohen, Duval, Jacksonville Jaguars. Now you get a crap on it?
No,
you're a fraud.
Part of it, no, that's not true. Part of it is your running back, I think, and a lot of times is only as good as the guys blocking for you. The Raiders are the worst offensive line in the NFL. And this is a deep running back draft. You don't have to go number 6. The Raiders need a running back, yes. You can get, I think, similar value in round 2 or round 3 that you could get with Jeanty at 6. Go offensive line, beef up the guys that are supposed to be blocking for Jeanty or whatever running back you're going to have, and eventually whatever quarterback you end up drafting, whether it's next year, the year after, whatever it may be, build that up versus getting a running back that I don't think will be as effective because he's not going to have any holes to run through. Jeanty makes everybody miss. The problem is he's going to make 10 guys miss and get back to the line of scrimmage for a gain of 0.
Do you remember the year when Damon Arnett went in the first round?
Yes, the Raiders.
And that, to Stu's point, sorry, Stu, I know it's your Raiders, but I'm helping you out here. That was like, what the bleep are they doing? There's going to be a what the bleep moment that even with what your explanation is, which I don't love it, even if people think that explanation is fine, that's going to be worse than potentially if Jeanty going 6. And I'm all on board. I don't even think Jeanty will be there at 6 anymore. I'm with Peter Schrager with him going at 5. Is it the same way for you with the Jaguars?
Similarly, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it would be a little bit better. But yeah, the Jaguars O-line stinks. I don't get the point of drafting a running back if the guys can't block for him. It's a wasted pick. It's at a position and running back that is easiest to find value.
He is red, folks.
But what I don't, what drives me crazy?
And the vein is popping out of his cabeza.
I hate during draft time when everyone just jumps on the train of, oh yeah, this is what happened and no one questions it. Whether it's the Jaguars at 5 or the Raiders at 6, look at who's blocking for them. How can you sit there and say that makes sense? Look at the other running backs in the draft. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa is a great running back. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. This is a very deep running back draft. Why would you... I was going to say a phrase that probably would not... Why would you use
again, potty mouth.
A draft pick that high in number 6 on a position that, again, number 1 would not be as effective with a bad O-line, and number 2, you can get similar, not equal, similar value to 50 picks later? It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make any sense to me. Stu, it makes no sense to me.
Take number 2.
Okay. Second best quarterback. When we're talking 10 years from now.
Oh, hold on. You're already going to crap on Shador because you hate Colorado.
No. This is... Because what I'm about to say is not even... What I'm about to say is mostly landing spot versus quarterback talent. Will Howard. I think he can be like
Will
a
Howard
Dak
is the
Prescott.
second best quarterback in this draft class?
Will be when it's all said and done. I think he's going to follow a Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy-like model. He's going to go late day 2, probably maybe early day 3, to a team that probably doesn't need a starter right away. That's a pretty good team.
You got Jeremiah Smith in that NFL team?
He's going to sit behind.
You got those two running
talented.
backs?
Depends where he goes to LA. What if he sits behind Stafford for a year or 2? All of a sudden, he slides in when Stafford retires.
You know what I would do?
What was that?
If then Will Howard gets drafted in my division, I'm drafting all Michigan players. That's what I would do.
You know what?
You think you hate Shador Sanders that much that you're going to tell me that Will Howard is the second best quarterback in this draft class?
I'm saying will be. I'm not saying is right now, but I don't trust Jackson Dart. I don't trust Jalen Milroe.
No, I don't trust Will
Shador
Howard.
Sanders, I got questions about as well. And I think where Shador Sanders is likely to get mocked to and go to. He's not going to be in a great situation.
Oh, my God.
Will Howard's a winner. He performs well in big games.
Will Howard.
Aside from Michigan. But he won a national title, made some big throws. I'm going to take a shot at you. You wanted spicy takes. You didn't want me to just say, okay, who's going to go number 2? Is it going to be Travis Hunter? I think 10 years from now, he could have a Dak Prescott-like run.
Chip Kelly is on line 1. I just told John Spytek to not draft Will Howard. Oh, my God. Hello, John. Hope you're listening.
Well, I hope Will Howard does not go to L.A. Or Las Vegas, excuse me. That would not be well for my prediction. That's a team that has a lot of holes, a lot of needs.
Okay. Go to the Rams, take number 1. The Jaguars would make the worst first round. The Raiders would make the worst first round selection of the entire draft. They take Ashton Jeanty.
Correct.
Oof. Then you topped yourself here. This is a double oof. This is oof, oof. You ended up saying that Will Howard's going to be the second best quarterback.
Who's talking about Dak Prescott in his draft class? Who's talking about Brock Purdy in their draft class? I like experienced quarterbacks that play in big moments and win big games.
Can I challenge this? You were giving takes about Dak Prescott?
No. Oh. No, I'm saying who was talking.
Oh, okay.
I meant
nobody. I thought you were saying, it was me. Look at me. I'm the quarterback.
No. Nobody saw him coming. He played a lot of football, won some big games at Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. You go to the right system, and that's why I'm in terms of being the second best guy, I'm more believing in Will Howard because I'm assuming he's going to go later in the draft.
Oh, they don't run! Just kidding.
Probably to a team that does not need a quarterback right away, so he could sit, watch, learn, probably get some good coaching.
I'm just messing with you. So, that would have been really funny if they went yard here. So Hickey is distracted because he's watching the Mets game.
Oh, I'm locked in!
And people are in the YouTube chat. They're like, Hickey isn't even looking at Gelb today. He's distracted. Or he at least knows that these takes just suck. Hickey keeps on looking at the TV. So I just said, the Mets are up in a 2-2 game. They hit a home run thinking that, Hickey maybe would go along with it, which he did. And then he realized that I was just being a prankster. So that was that.
Jokester.
Can I get take number 3?
Sure.
Is this your last take?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you have more takes?
No,
Hot takes?
but you asked for 3. I got like 3 ready.
Okay.
This is, I would say, the coolest that I think some people I've seen agree on this.
What do you mean the coolest? Like it's a cool idea? Or
No,
you think that
the
this
spiciness of the take. This is not good. I'm not saving the best for last year. I came out of the gate firing with the 2 that I think.
No. I think the second one, the cream of the Oreo, was the best part of the Oreo in this one. Because Will Howard, being the second best quarterback in this draft class. Will, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Your NFL career was already probably screwed. Now it's really screwed because Hickey is on board with you.
He may be number 1, depending on how Cam Ward does.
Oh, my. Zach Gelb just passed away. Have a moment of silence. He is no longer alive with us right now. Time of death, 3:51 p.m. Eastern time. Cause of death, killed by Ryan Hickey's takes, pretty much. All right, give me the take here.
I think the biggest bust in round 1, James Pierce, defensive end, Tennessee.
Now, can I ask this question?
Sure.
So, what would you where do you have to get picked in the draft to be qualified as a bust? Like, I think it really has to be top 10 because, for example, we do these lists. JR does lists as well, and it's like biggest draft bust ever. And people will be like Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was picked, what, like 20?
I thought it was like 15.
Johnny Manziel? I want to say he was picked like 25 or something like that. Maybe even 26. Let's just see real quickly.
Either way, he was I think a first round pick is fair. Like, I don't think it has to be top 10. Like, if you
He was
are
picked 22. 22, Johnny Manziel.
Like, that's
I don't know. I feel like you got to be picked top 10 to be
like,
considered a bust.
if you're picking a first round pick, like, that's like you're getting or you expect to get an impact player. Like, a guy that's going to come in.
I've seen people say, oh, he could go top 10, and I've also seen people be like, oh, he'll be 28 or 29.
I think if he goes, for me, the cutoff's first round. In terms of being a draft bust.
And
Even
why
if
are
he
you
goes
out
30,
on him?
There's been a lot of questions, and you can kind of see it watching Tennessee. Work ethic. Don't love that.
Okay.
Don't love that. A lot of talent. Probably go pretty high. Maybe 3rd or 4th edge rusher off the board.
Your QB evaluations, you don't usually have a good history by this.
Yeah.
So Will Howard's going to be number 2. You said Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling of that draft.
I think I stand by that. Now he's not living up to it, but that doesn't mean his.
You loved the pick.
I did. And
you also hated the CJ Stroud selection at 2 with the Texans.
I did, and that's not worked out. But I love Bryce Young. He's coming around. He finished strong last year. Get some talent more around him.
Let's not mush him here, all right? He's finally off to a good start.
He's got his feet under him in year number 2.
All right, give me one more take. Colts, what are they going to do? They're sitting there at, what, 14?
14.
Your Colts.
I mean, I hope, because Tyler Warren's not going to be a thought. I hope it's Colson Loveland.
Hickey rooting for a Michigan guy.
If it's not, I would probably say they go corner, which is not great because you need offensive line help more. I just don't think there's an offensive lineman there, especially guard, that makes sense to go at 14.
Banks?
I would say Jade Barron is someone that I hope can kind of fall.
I was saying on the
there.
offensive line.
Oh, sorry. I'll take Kelvin Banks. I don't know if he's going to be there. I think they could. He's someone that they have good tackles, but they also, I think, you need to look for the future that wouldn't play right away. They need a guard, but there's no guard you're going to take at 14 right now in this draft. So I think another DB in the first round for Chris Ballard that's probably going to flame out and stink, and Colts are going to have to live with it.
We should dump water on you at the end of these segments to cool you off.
I feel like we've had fun the last few weeks. This is the most fired up I've been in a while.
I always have fun. I have fun too.
I'm saying, I was fired up and ready to go.
Good presence. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. Top 10, Zach Gelb Show, NFL mock draft. We'll do that on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Enough with all the speculation and chaos. It's time for the only mock draft that matters. The 2025 Zach Gelb Show Top 10 Mock Draft on Infinity Sports Network. In 3, 2, 1. With the first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select
Cam Ward, quarterback, University of Miami.
There we go. Paul Kaharski from paulkaharski.com takes Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans with the first overall selection of the 2025 NFL Draft. Paul, clearly a lot has been said about the quarterbacks in this draft, and not in a very glowing fashion. What do you think the ceiling of Cam Ward could be for the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I think there's certainly potential for him to turn out to be a very good player. You know, some of the comps from some of the experts out there who are draftniks, which I am not, are very appealing. Some people are talking about some Patrick Mahomes qualities. I don't think they're thinking he's Patrick Mahomes. And, his best stuff on tape is certainly very impressive. But there are other concerns, that his accuracy, his decision-making, his lower body mechanics are things that maybe are the kind of things that are hard to fix, and that he comes in with some of those things set largely as they are that maybe can't be improved too much.
Tennessee hasn't really had a franchise quarterback, star potential since Steve McNair. Mike Borgonzi comes in, the first-year general manager. There was a debate for a little bit. Should you maybe trade the pick? Should you maybe take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? What is your understanding of the process that got them, in your opinion, to probably taking Cam Ward number 1 overall tomorrow night?
Well, I think they gradually fell in love with him, certainly at his pro day when he had a rollout pass and it took him right to Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, the two top executives in personnel, and said, "I'm solidifying it today," in good humor, which was a good sign. He performed well there, and then the week after, when they had a private workout with him, at which Amy Adams Strunk, the team's owner, made an appearance in Coral Gables, Florida, which is a really rare thing, not just for the Titans, I think for virtually any team that doesn't have an owner who's their general manager. But also, look, we know how this works. If you're a quarterback needy team with the first pick in the draft, it's very difficult for you not to be drawn to the best quarterback in that draft. And, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter be damned.
He is Paul Kaharski. PaulKaharski.com covers the Tennessee Titans, and he has them taking Cam Ward with the first overall pick. We'll make our next stop, and we'll head to Cleveland.
With the second overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select
Travis Hunter. He is the best player in the draft. He's from Colorado. He's a cornerback and a wide receiver.
And that's the voice of Adam the Bull, obviously the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, kind enough to join us right now as the Cleveland Browns at number 2 take Travis Hunter. Why do you think this is ultimately the pick? Because for the last month and a half, 2 months, we've heard Abdul Carter, we've heard Travis Hunter, even a lot of people talking about Shedeur Sanders. When the draft comes tomorrow, why does Andrew Berry take Travis Hunter?
Ultimately, it's pretty simple. You obviously need a quarterback. The Browns have needed a quarterback forever. They don't think any of these quarterbacks are worthy of a first-round selection. That's been made pretty clear publicly. Now, obviously, there's a lot of misinformation this time of year, but what I've heard behind the scenes matches up what's been speculated publicly. They don't totally buy in. They think there's too many question marks involved with all these quarterbacks. And then the difference between Hunter and Carter, to me, it's easy. One guy, they're both great. They'll both probably be great players. But one guy can play 2 positions, including wide receiver, on an offense that has very little talent, and the other one plays 1 position. So to me, it's a simple answer. Take the guy that could potentially be a Pro Bowler at 2 spots, because I think the Browns have to be aggressive and have to, at least to some degree, let him play both ways, even though some people cannot, especially old school football people, cannot wrap their head around it.
Yeah, we've heard Andrew Berry say that they think of him as a wide receiver first, but that they're going to let him play both ways with the Cleveland Browns. We touched on the quarterback a little bit. We know they pick early in the second round, sitting there with the first overall selection in the second round at 33. If a quarterback starts to fall, could you see them trading back up into the first round? And if not, then do you expect at 33 them to definitely take a quarterback?
I would not rule out a trade up. Maybe even as high as to try to get ahead of the Steelers, who could potentially take a quarterback. But you asked me to bet right now, 24 some odd hours before the draft. My guess is they stay put at 33. I know they like Jalen Milroe. I know they like Tyler Shuck. I think the odds that both of those guys are not there at 33 to me is very unlikely. And ultimately, if you've decided there's no quarterback worth taking at 2, I can't imagine that they'll now trade a first-round pick next year to get up into the 20s to break a tie between a couple of guys who have potential but are far from sure things. So I do think they stick at 33 is the most likely scenario, and I think they will take either Jalen Milroe or Shuck at 33.
Are they totally out on Shedeur?
I'd be stunned if they took him at 2. I think the consensus in the building is that he's a good player, but he's flawed enough that they can't pass up on Travis Hunter. I am always a guy that's like, you got to take the quarterback. You got to take the quarterback. And for a while, I was on with drafting Shedeur Sanders. I just think they don't believe enough in any of those guys, including Shedeur. They think there's too many holes that they can't pass up on Travis Hunter, who seems as close to a sure thing. Nobody's a sure thing, but it seems as close to a sure thing. Plus, and this would be the case with Sanders too, the reason I kind of like the idea of Hunter and Milroe as the first 2 picks, the Browns have ignored character concerns for a number of years now, and both Travis Hunter and Jalen Milroe not only are very talented players, especially Hunter. Milroe, obviously more of a project, but they're both through the roof, high character, high intangible players, and the Browns need some of that in this locker room.
He's out in the bull from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, taking Travis Hunter with Cleveland with the 2nd overall pick. We go from Cleveland to where Bull used to live, and that is New York, and we'll see who the Giants have with the 3rd overall selection.
With the 3rd overall pick, the New York Giants select
Abdul Carter, edge rusher, Penn State.
And that's the voice of Sean Marash from the WFAN Afternoon Show, Evan and Tiki, and he joins us right now. Abdul Carter going to the Giants at 3. Here's been the big topic of conversation, Sean. I think we all know it's going to be Abdul Carter coming up tomorrow night, but there's been a lot of speculation and talk leading into this process of the Giants just taking Shedeur Sanders at 3. Are you good with them passing on Shedeur at 3 to take Abdul Carter?
Yes, but card subject to change if he goes and has a Bo Nix type of year. Look, the one thing the Giants can't leave this draft without is an identity that, for better or worse, they lost when Saquon Barkley left the New York Giants. By taking Abdul Carter 3rd overall, they continue to build in the trenches off of the Brian Burns trade a year ago. You have Dexter Lawrence. You did what you did in the offseason with Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland, and I think this is going to be a tenacious get-after-it defense, and this is going back to old-school defensive Giant football as an identity, and that's what Abdul Carter provides.
Personally, I think Abdul Carter is the preeminent player in this draft. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence. We know he's one of the better defensive linemen in this league. Brian Burns, they went in for him last year. He's a very good player. What about Kayvon Thibodeau? What do you think his future with the Giants has in store?
Well, look, the Giants have another week or so to determine his 5th-year option, and I think probably a lot of that determination will be made on whether they do, in fact, pull the trigger here on Abdul Carter. Here's what I would say. If they are taking Abdul Carter, I really hope that they don't just turn around and dump Kayvon Thibodeau for another 3rd-round pick or something like that. If you're creating this identity, drop a pass rush in waves, similar to the last time the Giants were relevant when they actually had a pass rush in waves, and think about that at the end of the year, or perhaps move him at the trade deadline if the Giants slip out of this thing early. But the future, the immediate future, I hope, is Kayvon Thibodeau remaining a New York Giant for 2025.
Now, Sean Marash, it's been a rough year, obviously, the past year for Joe Shane. I think he could win this first round, or maybe win the first 2 rounds, if he could get Abdul Carter at 3 and then either trade back up into the first round or at pick 34. I don't think Shedeur will be available there, but if he get both of them, that would be a wonderful job. What are you hearing on the Giants' QB plan if they do pass up on a quarterback at 3? Who are they really liking right now?
So I think it comes down to 2 guys. I think that there is a split within that organization on how much they like Shedeur Sanders, and I think that the reports, I know Peter Schrager had this, are true that Brian Dable is at least enticed with Jackson Dart. I think the Giants missing out on both of those guys and settling for a Tyler Shook or a Jalen Milroe, let's say at pick 34, or if you traded up and went back into late in the first round for either of those two guys, something like that, I think would be a complete waste of draft capital for the New York Giants. So I think the Giants, by taking Abdul Carter 3, which I think they will do, they're going to try to have their cake and eat it too, and I would expect them to be very, very active. And one team to keep an eye on, Dan Morgan, the general manager of the Panthers, who orchestrated that deal with Brian Burns and Joe Shane a year ago. They have a good working relationship, the two GMs, Panthers and Giants, and the Saints sit there at 9. I don't think it would be stunning at all if suddenly we're sitting there in the top 10 and here come the Giants again, moving all the way up to 8 if Shedeur Sanders slides, or even if it's Dable getting his wish with Jackson Dart to prevent the Saints from getting him, and the Panthers could prevent their division rival from getting a franchise quarterback.
If you're listening to us right now, you hear that voice, you know he's Mraz. Now he goes by Sean Morash of WFAN, and he has Abdul Carter going to the Giants at 3. Now let's head to Foxborough as the Patriots are on the clock with the 4th overall pick.
The 4th overall pick, the New England Patriots select
Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State.
Wow, our first shocker here on the Zach Gelb Show for the top 10 mock draft, and it comes from our old pal Fitzy from Sports Radio WEEI in Boston. Fitzy, I need a little bit more of an explanation on this one because I haven't seen anybody but yourself potentially predict that Ashton Jeanty could wind up at one Patriot place.
Well, the reason behind the selection, Zach, is everybody wants this to be the draft pick. Ever since Gerard Mayo and Joe Milton did not get the order, obviously, Order 66 did not come through back in January to lose the game against the Bills. Funny how a team that went to the AFC Championship was better at losing than the team that lost more games than anyone else in the NFL last year, right? So ever since then, when they should have had their pick of people, we have wanted to obviously solidify a lot of things. But what we've been so desperate for this past year, multiple recent seasons, is excitement. There is no one else available in this draft, even 1, 2, and 3, let alone at 4, that would provide the excitement, the spark, the juice, the buzz that one of the greatest running backs this century or in recent memory in college football could provide than Ashton Jeanty. I was all aboard with this kid coming to the Patriots or being a top 5 pick before last season. Then he ran for 2 miles last year at Boise State. And the best thing is, my favorite stat is that Ashton Jeanty led college football by almost 1,000 yards in rushing last year. Ashton Jeanty, after contact, would have also led all of college football in rushing last year. And then when I rediscovered that the Players Tribune was actually a thing and read that on-the-road length letter that he wrote to NFL GMs, coaches, and prospective teammates last week, saying if I were the guy making the picks, I would choose the guy you can't tackle because football is a tackle game. It was humble, it was confident, it was braggadocious, and it was serious. And that's what this team needs. Sure, you can tell me right now, we need a left tackle. Oh, we need a deep threat. Oh, there's this team. No team has more needs than the New England Patriots. And all of that can be true. 2, 3, and 4 things can be true at once, Gelb. But I don't think there's anyone that would be both the Patriots' defense and Drake May's best friend, like a running back that defenses would have to spend 6 days trying to game plan before Sunday comes around.
And here's the other thing. Now, full disclosure, I wanted them to get Abdul Carter. He's off the board here. I don't think it's likely he's there at 4. But you look at the coach that they just brought in Mike Vrabel. When did he have success at Tennessee? It was with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Well, Drake May, I think, is better than Ryan Tannehill. The Patriots have Ramondre Stevenson right now. They need a little extra excitement on the offensive side of the ball. No really elite wide receivers because Diggs is coming off the injury. And I talked to Ashton Jeanty back in September, and I said, hey, you remind me of a combination of Marshawn Lynch, Alvin Kamara, and then, yes, Derrick Henry. So with the way that Mike Vrabel likes to run a football team, it kind of does make sense, especially when the way that we lay this out right now.
He's basically like a miniature Derrick Henry with Barry Sanders moves, or you could describe him as a muscled-up LaDainian Tomlinson. 2 running backs that help their team feed, maybe not necessarily win, but each team's situation and circumstances is different and should not be judged by another. When you talk about like begging the New England Patriots, you and I talked about this when we hung out at Gillette last year and when you jumped on the Six Rings podcast with me. The Patriots need to promise us they're going to take the best player available. Just hit Yahoo Auto Draft time and again and let that be the dictum for who they select so they can stockpile talent. You can't tell me anybody else is better at that position. Or rather, position number 4 in the draft. Like, you can tell me, okay, they're going to go get Will Campbell, and he's going to be an angry Cajun Matt Light, and then they'll get, discount Derrick Henry and Quinshon Judkins and Jalen Noel. And I'll say that's a really good draft, but it's not as exciting as watching Ashton Jeanty try to take it to the house 18 to 27 times each and every Sunday, making Drake May that much more explosive no matter who he's thrown to.
I'm with you, and I love it, Fitzy, from WEI. With that being said, though, I still anticipate that it's going to be Will Campbell come Thursday night. What are you hearing about how the Patriots view Will Campbell?
In my best Will Campbell voice, which sounds something like a combination of Ed Ogeron and Sling Blade, I guess we're just going to have to get used to Will Campbell, the guy who's probably more of a guard than a tackle, coming in Fox Pro and trying to make a difference on the blind side of Drake May. Yeah, what I'm hearing from every national reporter, from people that I know inside the building. And last week, I was lucky enough to MC a fundraiser for our friend Boston Herald writer Doug Kyed, who lost his daughter to leukemia last year, to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And he assembled a fabulous panel of NFL and Boston Patriot beat writers and experts. And to a man, each and every one of them said, sorry, get used to it. Will Campbell, number 4, New England Patriots. So it is what it is, kid.
So there you go. That's Fitzy from WEI. He has Ashton Jeanty going to the Patriots. Sean Marash took Abdul Carter to the Giants. Adam the Bold, Travis Hunter to the Browns. And then Paul Kaharski, Cam Ward to the Titans. First 4 picks in the books. We will go to Duval next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Enough with all the speculation and chaos. It's time for the only mock draft that matters. The 2025 Zach Gelb Show Top 10 Mock Draft on Infinity Sports Network. In 3, 2, 1. With the 5th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Tedero McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
There we go. The Jacksonville Jaguars have made their selection with the 5th overall pick in the Zach Gelb Show Top 10 Mock Draft. That is the voice of JP Shadrick, who is a team reporter for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So with this pick is true, you have Brian Thomas Jr. at wide receiver. He was sensational last year. Liam Cohen is now the head football coach, and there's still an uncertainty about Trevor Lawrence. If this is what Trevor Lawrence has to work with for 2025, what do you think he could still be as an NFL quarterback?
When you have a basketball team on the outside, basically is what they would have at this point. If McMillan is the pick, then you've got, ability to throw it down the field and a little more confidence in one-on-one situations down the field and just letting it go. So I think that's what they're trying to do around here with a new head coach, a new offense, and a quarterback who's now in his 3rd different offense in the NFL. Give him as many opportunities, as many weapons as they can, and give him enough confidence to be able to stand in there and throw it down the field. And it starts in the offensive line with that, but you still have to have weapons down the field to be able to get that done. And having Brian Thomas with Ted McMillan, okay, that's a pretty good combo at wide receiver.
I like to do this exercise the day before the draft because so much could change. And when I knew that we were going to have you on without knowing who everyone else was picking, like a month ago, I would have said, okay, Mason Graham would have been the pick at 5. That's what everyone's saying. Then the last 24 to 48 hours, there's been a lot of buzz about Ashton Jeanty. Now, in this exercise, surprisingly, Ashton Jeanty did just go at 4 to the Patriots, thanks to our old pal Fitzy from Sports Radio WEEI. What are you hearing about the potential buzz that is growing on Ashton Jeanty maybe actually being the selection come tomorrow night for the Jaguars at 5?
It's a good question. And, I think Travis Hunter would be the guy, right? Let's start with that. If he's there, he's not going to be there at 5, right? But if not, what is the next best explosive overall player? They've got pass rushers already. Abdul Carter might be gone as well. So Ashton Jeanty proved in the last 2 years that he can carry the load if you need him to at 30 snaps a game or 30 carries a game. He did that a lot last year at Boise State. He can take it the distance. He's hard to tackle. As he said the other day, it's tackle football, and I'm hard to tackle, right? I love that quote. That makes sense to me. He's 5'8", and he can bring it. Remember, Maurice Jones-Drew was 5'7", a little bit wider than Ashton. So they've had that kind of style running back around here before. and that goes back to our conversation about this offense and giving more weapons, and this would give him more balance in the offense. Remember, Travis Etienne Jr. is now in the final year coming up of his rookie contract. It's the 5th-year option season for him coming up. So there's no guarantee he's going to be around for a whole lot longer after this season. So this kind of checks a couple boxes with that. You get a running back who can bring it and really kind of scare this defense on the other side and start to balance things out. Play action game comes into play for Trevor. Rollout game, which he's really good at. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense to me. If Jeanty's there and all those others are gone, I think for me that would be the pick at number 5.
Hey, before we let you run, JP, just when we get to Liam Cohen, when he was hired, I think the initial response was, okay, that's the second best offensive mind on the market after Ben Johnson. Then he had the whole Duval moment, and we made a lot out of that. What has the last few months been like in the early tenure of one Liam Cohen?
It's been super steady. I guess that's probably the best word for it. He has a clear understanding of how he wants this organization and the culture of this building, if you're into that word, which they are here. He has a clear understanding of what that needs to be and how to implement that and how to win over the players who have been around here and have been through different iterations of leadership over the years. And he's a younger mindset, right? He and the GM are both in their 30s still, which is a polar opposite of what's been around here the last 3 regimes especially. So a little more relatable, I think, to the players that are on the roster. That's a good start. And I think it's just been a steady, changeover for the offense and for the head coach and Liam Cohen. And besides his pronunciation of Duval aside, everything else has been just fine. I think he's got past that with a lot of grace.
Tedero McMillan off the board. That's JP Chadrick. It does a great job covering the Jaguars. We go from Duval to Sin City as the Las Vegas Raiders are next up on the clock.
With the 6th overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select
Armand Mambu, the big offensive tackle from the University of Missouri.
There you go. The Raiders have made their selection 6 overall. Vinny Bonsignore does a great job covering the team for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So, Vinny, it's kind of crazy how this stuff works, and this is why I love to do this a day before the draft. A lot of people for the last 3 weeks or so would have probably said Ashton Jeanty would have been the selection here at 6. Jeanty, though, is now off the board. What do you make of the recent developments where a lot of people think Jeanty's going to be off the board at 6, and then why do you think the Raiders end up going with Mambu?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually talked to somebody this morning who thinks the opposite. He thinks that Jeanty will be there when the Raiders pick at number 6, that nobody's going to trade up for him ahead of the Raiders or that Jacksonville's going to take him. Hey, we'll all find out tomorrow, right? It's crazy how these things go. But if Jeanty isn't there, then I think that they want to rebuild the offensive line or help the offensive line. There's some nice pieces there, or the defensive line. So I could also see a Mason Graham being a possibility at that spot, of Will Campbell from LSU, another tackle who I believe was still on the board at that point. But I'll tell you this too, I really think the Raiders want to trade down. I think they have a real comfort level with about 5 to 6 players. But they aren't so madly in love with any one over the other in that cluster that they can't live without one of those guys. So I think that they would prefer, whether it's from 12, 11, 10, 9, to maybe give them a call, trade down, still get a player that they really like, but also maybe pick up a second-round pick and considerations for their trouble. But I think that Ashton Jeanty is one of the few difference makers, the immediate difference makers, and potentially so. We have to always preface it with that in this draft. If I'm the Raiders and Ashton Jeanty is there, that would be my pick.
So there could be some wheeling and dealing from John Spytek, not only down in the first round, but then maybe back up in the first round, or just staying put with the second selection in at 37, because there's all this speculation about what the Raiders are going to do at quarterback. Shedeur Sanders has been thrown out there for the Browns, the Giants, the Raiders, the Saints, the Steelers. What are you hearing on the Raiders' level of interest in Shedeur Sanders, if they could find a way to get him with their second selection?
Yeah, I think that would be a great scenario if they could do that at 37. And if you back it up to what we were just talking about with the trade down scenario, and if they can pick up a second round pick for their trouble, the Chicago Bears have the 41st pick overall in the second, in that second round. I think the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. have the 44th pick in the second round. The Raiders already have 37. And here's what the point I guess I'm trying to make is that the Raiders don't need a quarterback right now. They've got Geno Smith and they've got him under contract for the next couple of years. So if they only have the 37th pick, man, maybe they got to go get if they don't get Jeanty in the first round, maybe that's where they get the running back or a wide receiver or a cornerback. But if you have 2 second-round picks, now maybe the appetite to draft a quarterback that's going to pay off a little bit down the line. You don't need him to play right now because you have a pick at 41 or 44 if they traded with the Chicago Bears or Dallas Cowboys to now address a more immediate need as well. So you would kind of have your cake and eat it too. You'd be able to get a player in the second round who can help you right now, but also get the quarterback presumably of your future. So that's why, again, that trade down scenario makes a lot of sense for the Raiders. And it enables them to get one more bite at the apple and not sacrifice the future for the present or vice versa, because you have 2 cracks at that apple in that second round.
And who knows, maybe they even get more ammunition to then trade back up into the first round, which could be a possibility. Has there been a leak at all? Spytech, new GM, Brady, obviously, he knows a thing or two about quarterback play. We know Cam Ward is off the board at 1, and then it's a bunch of question marks here on what's going to happen the rest of the way. Has there been maybe a preference or a leak on what the Raiders could potentially do at quarterback if they're going to look at the draft?
Yeah, they did a lot of homework on their quarterbacks, and they brought in pretty much everybody. If you still have some throws in your right arm, they might have brought you in for a personal visit. But I say that facetiously, but they really did. They did a lot of homework on this class. Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, all of those quarterbacks, Tyler Shuck from Louisville, came through their building in Henderson. You only get 30 picks, and I think they had about 5 or 6 quarterbacks that came through. So that tells you a little bit. And John Speltag told us that was not by accident. They really wanted to do their homework on them. Quinn Ewers is somebody I think that they've been linked to. Jalen Milroe, I think, is someone that they would have an appreciation for. If you could get Shedeur Sanders at 37 or trade up to the end of the first round to get him, that's pretty palatable for them. We all know the connections between Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders. They've worked together. He's been a mentor to Shedeur Sanders. He signed him to an NIL deal before those were even really a thing with his TB12 brand. So there's a massive connection between Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders. That makes a lot of sense. Jalen Milroe probably has the most upside of this draft class. He would fit really well with the timeline for Geno Smith, being able to bring Jalen along slowly and try to pour some development time into him. Also be able to get him on the field really early in situational packages. So he makes a lot of sense. Trading back up in the first round to get one of those guys, I can't rule that out necessarily because you get that 5th-year option in play as well. So a lot of different directions that they can go in, and a lot of quarterbacks that they've been connected to. Will Howard played for Chip Kelly, the new Raiders offensive coordinator last year at Ohio State. Does that help him or hurt him? Nobody knows Will Howard more than Chip Kelly, and that includes the upsides and also some of the flaws and some of the warts. So I don't know if that necessarily helps him or hurts him. I guess we'll find out on draft day if they're there in the 4th round and they pick a Will Howard there or in the 5th round.
He's Vinny Bonsignore. Does a great job covering the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, taking Armin Membu out of Missouri with the 6th overall pick. We go from Las Vegas all the way across the country to New York as we have the Jets next up on the clock.
With the 7th overall pick, the New York Jets select
Ty Warren, tight end, Penn State.
There you go. That's the voice of Brandon Tierney from BT and Sal on WFAN. Obviously, you know him all these years when he did host here on this network. And BT, I appreciate you doing this. I love this pick for Tyler Warren going to the Jets because you got Breece Hall, you got Garrett Wilson, and now you can get a true evaluation of what Justin Fields could be as a quarterback.
I got to tell you, listen, as much as I'm going with the Ty Warren pick, that's not my first choice. My first choice was really when you look at an offensive line perspective, I would rather build this from the guts out, something the Jets never do. But because the kid from Missouri's gone, I got to pivot. And I was thinking about Campbell, and you do some research on Campbell, who I think could, I don't know where he's going to go necessarily, but I look at the Jets, and Olu Fashanu was phenomenal, graded out very well on the left side. I didn't want to take Campbell, who doesn't play on the right side at all and has short arms and some of these other things that
alligator
they say.
Arms,
Yeah,
little
they say.
T-Rex.
Not only does he not pick up the check, but he might not be able to disengage with
We're
a
talking
linebacker.
about Samter or Will Campbell?
Exactly. So I love Ty Warren, and I'm very confident with the pick, but my first instinct, I wanted to go lineman, but the one that I wanted was gone.
So that's an anomaly, I think, from the Jet fan, because a lot of Jet fans are probably saying, ugh, another offensive lineman? Why do we have to go with another offensive lineman? Your response to Jet fans would be what?
Get over it. I think Jet fans, and I've been guilty of this as well, too often you want the shiny object. You want the receiver. You want the tight end. I know I just took one here, but you want the splash corner. You want the quarterback. Think about when the Jets have been good, and it's been a while, but to jar the memory, how did it get going? DeBrickashaw Ferguson, 4th overall pick, Nick Mangold in the 20s out of Ohio State. When you stabilize the offensive line, it doesn't matter. Well, first of all, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, you can now operate with a clear head, which I think the Jets, the new regime, can actually do right now. They're not sitting there saying, well, we have Rodgers for another year. If we do this, we'll accelerate our growth and maybe win a Super Bowl. I just think this is the practical way of building out a team. Now, you can make the case that maybe you could go defensive lineman, have more of a defensive identity. There are a few other options here, but I think that from an offensive line perspective, once you start with that, and they've got enough components now for me to justify taking a tight end, now you can start to add to it and say, okay, whether Fields is really good for us for a year or two, or he's gone in a year, whatever it might be, we've got the foundation of a team and a tight end eventually who could go out there and be a mismatch, but also an offensive line that can win in the trenches. You haven't said that for a decade with this team. It's been a joke. We all know that. So if you're thinking that you don't want a lineman, or you're thinking about you're tired of things that don't appear sexy, ask yourself this, Jet fans: where have all the sexy picks gotten us? Nowhere.
So there you go. That's Brandon Tierney with the Jets selection of Tyler Warren. Raiders go Armin Membu, and the Jaguars go Tet McMillan. The Panthers are up next. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the best team in baseball right now is the New York Mets, thanks to a 12-1 record at Citi Field, and they just swept the homestand, 7 straight wins, and they rally with 2 in the 10 today to beat the Phillies by a score of 4-3. Reese Olson and 2 relievers combined on a 2-hit shutout as the Tigers blanked the Padres by a score of 6-0. The Yankees avoid being swept in Cleveland, taking the finale from the Guardians 5-1. Carlos Rodon went 7 innings, gave up just an unearned run, and struck out 8. The Reds topped the Marlins by a score of 5-2. Brady Singer won his 4th, and it was the Braves over the Cardinals by a score of 4-1. The Cavaliers were the best team in the East from start to finish, and it looked that way in Game 1 when they were easy winners over the Heat. They will host Miami in Game 2 tonight. Also, the Celtics take on the Magic, looking to go up 2-0 before heading to Orlando. And the Rockets host the Warriors after dropping the opener on their home floor. The NFL Draft takes place tomorrow. The Hall of Fame game, July 31st, and will feature the Lions and Chargers after former Chargers great Antonio Gates goes into the Hall. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Enough with all the speculation and chaos. It's time for the only mock draft that matters. The 2025 Zach Gelb Show Top 10 Mock Draft on Infinity Sports Network. In 3, 2, 1. With the 8th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers select
Jalen Walker, linebacker, Georgia.
There you go. That's the voice of T-Bone from Mac and Bone on WFNZ in Charlotte. The Carolina Panthers, they take Jalen Walker out of Georgia with the 8th overall selection. So you look at this defense, Bone. You have Derek Brown. You got J.C. Horn. If those guys could stay healthy, those are some good foundational pieces. Why did you elect to bring Jalen Walker in as the trio to that defense?
Yeah, just a versatile guy. I mean, it's not even hyperbole to say the Panthers, the worst defense of all time a year ago. So they need defensive help, not only the first round, beyond the other rounds. And this guy feels like he's a high character guy. He's from 30 minutes away. from where the Panthers play here in Charlotte. He's from Salisbury, North Carolina, so he's got ties to the area. He's a leader. He's a film guy. I'm not saying that the expectation is that he's going to be Luke Kuechly, but it feels kind of like he's that type of guy for this team. He's going to lead. He's going to be the first guy in the room, and that is what this team needs. They need that third guy, that third dog that you're talking about with J.C. Horn and Derek Brown. So you add Derek Brown back in there. You've re-signed J.C. Horn. Let this guy be that next piece and try to build this defense. Even to be average is where this defense is trying to be in the short term.
And you know this, the Panthers are no stranger to picking early in this draft. They're a little bit later than normal, especially the last few years. Bryce Young, not that long ago, was the number 1 overall selection. Year 1 was a disaster. Year 2 really did turn things around. Where's the confidence meter of the Carolina Panthers fan right now when it comes to their young quarterback entering year 3?
It's so much higher than it was, say, week 4 or 5 a year ago. It's amazing that we're in draft time and we're actually not talking about quarterbacks for once around here. Let the other teams figure out in this weak draft class who that guy is. But yeah, Dave Canales, he did magical work with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, and you saw it last year. It was never a talent issue; it was a confidence issue, and they had to raise it back up to a certain level. And you started to see a little bit of Bama Bryce at the end there. Nearly beat Tampa. Nearly beat the Eagles, nearly beat the Chiefs. There's a long way to go, but I think that with that confidence being high and the whole entire offensive line is back, the whole coaching staff is back. His first offseason, he had 3 playbooks before he got to training camp. Like, not even counting all the coaching changes and all the stuff that went on in the season. Dude had 3 playbooks before he got to camp. No one can survive that. So he's got continuity now. He's got his confidence back. We're feeling really good about Bryce Young right now.
So there you go. Jalen Walker, some more SEC players going into the Carolina Panthers. He is off the board. And now we will head down to New Orleans, and we'll see what the Saints have cooking in at 9.
With the 9th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select
Mykel Williams, edge rusher, outside linebacker, University of Georgia.
So there you go. Mykel Williams is off the board from going to the New Orleans Saints, and now Bobby Aber does a great job for WWL and also is obviously a former NFL quarterback and a member of the Saints Hall of Fame. Why do you think the Saints needed to address defense here when there's been a lot of speculation of potentially taking a quarterback for Kellen Moore?
Well, he's outstanding against the run, and the Saints obviously got to get a whole lot better on the run defense. And I think he's a Brandon Staley type of guy, kind of going old school dome patrol. He kind of reminds you like of a Pat Swilling. Could get after the opposing quarterback. Pat Swilling was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year, back in my day. And he's also good enough in coverage. And he's a specimen. He's only 20 years of age. So I think he can have an immediate impact because with that 9th pick, you have to have a starter. You can't be developing anyone, and I think Mykel Williams is that guy that'll start instantly for the New Orleans Saints.
So, Bobby, you have the Saints passing up at a QB at 9. We know that they do have an early second-round pick as well. Are you definitely anticipating them with then their next pick potentially going out there and taking a quarterback, or could you see them punting altogether through the first 2 rounds?
No, I could see with the 40th pick in the second round definitely going QB, but I don't think it's a Shedeur Sanders. I don't think Jackson Dart would be available. I know they're interested in Jackson Dart and Milroe. At the 40th pick, the upside with him, I know he burned LSU and a lot of the folks around here. We know Jared Milroe, what he did as a running quarterback. But I look at him, and I was covering Atlanta at the time. Michael Vick was unbelievable. And then you look at Lamar Jackson. You can go to Cam Newton. I just don't know him as a passer, but it'd be more developmental. But I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they go like for Milroe, maybe with that 40th pick in the second round. But I don't think they go in the direction of Shedeur Sanders.
He's Bobby Aber, the former NFL quarterback, member of the Saints Hall of Fame, taking Mykel Williams with the 9th overall selection. We go from New Orleans to the Windy City as the Chicago Bears are next up on the clock.
With the 10th overall pick, the Chicago Bears select
Will Campbell, LSU offensive tackle.
There we go. The Chicago Bears wrap up the top 10, taking Will Campbell out of LSU. Let's go and welcome in David Hall from Mully & Hall on the Score in Chicago. David, there's been a lot of speculation about this 10th overall pick. Ashton Jeanty not available. Tyler Warren not available here at 10. Those would be my preferences for the Bears, but they revamped their offensive line this offseason. It doesn't guarantee, though, that they fix it, so I have no problem here if Chicago ends up taking an offensive lineman.
If Ashton Jeanty isn't there, you need to address the offensive line because that was the focus of free agency. It should remain the focus of the draft. You want to make this an offseason that is not just transitional, but transformational. And that's what rebuilding your offensive line would do. And that's what drafting Will Campbell would accomplish because he could be there for the next 5 to 8 to 10 years. Draft yourself a fixture. You need a left tackle.
If we got a little sneaky here with the Bears at 10, because, like I said, Jeanty could be a preference. Maybe Tyler Warren. If both are off the board, the next best running back is Omarion Hampton. The next best tight end would be Colston Loveland. Could you see a world where not necessarily the Bears taking either of those players at 10, but maybe trading back a few spots and still getting one of those players to add to their offense?
Maybe trading back or maybe taking Colston Loveland. I think they like him. The comp might be Sam Laporta. We know what Ben Johnson thinks of him. So you wonder if a guy who can run routes and get open with good hands could do in this Bears offense. Cole Kmet could be the complement. Loveland could be the main target at tight end. I think that if he's there, they would be very tempted if those other two guys are off the board.
What's the feeling in Chicago right now? I know with the Bears, it's always expect the worst, expect to be let down. Caleb Williams now going into year 2. You bring in the Brainiac in Ben Johnson. Ryan Poles still running the show. Give me the lay of the land right now and the confidence meter for the Bears fan.
Ben Johnson has the confidence at a high level, higher than even last offseason when they drafted Caleb Williams, because there's a belief that he knows what he's doing. And I think that as we can look at this draft, you're always looking at the general manager, but this doesn't feel like Ryan Poles' 4th draft as much as it feels like Ben Johnson's 1st. It will be his voice that I think carries the loudest, and I think it will be his imprint on this roster.
What do you expect this year, regardless of who they pick coming up on Thursday? What do you expect this year out of Caleb Williams?
I expect the Bears to win more games than they lose. I expect Caleb Williams to take a major leap forward in terms of progress and just command of the position. I expect him to have more time, and with that time, as we know, that he'll improve his accuracy. Guys will be schemed open, and he'll also have more time to find them behind an offensive line that has been revamped.
And that will conclude our Zach Gelb Show 2025 Top 10 mock draft. Once again, Cam Ward to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to Cleveland, Abdul Carter to the Giants, Ashton Jeanty surprise to the Patriots. Jaguars go with Ted McMillan, Raiders go with Armin Membu, Jets with Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker to the Panthers at 8, Micah Williams to the Saints at 9, and Will Campbell to the Bears at 10. Jeanty at 4, stunner. No Mason Graham in the top 10 as well, a stunner. And we appreciate our experts for joining us from the 10 NFL cities. By the way, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll take a timeout when we come on back on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A man who's driving to the draft right now is going to join us on his drive, and that is the Pro Football Hall of Famer, the legendary, here we go, Brownies, here we go, Joe Thomas is going to join us on the other side. Is he on board with the Browns taking Travis Hunter at 2? Who does he want at quarterback? We'll find out next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We should have, in a matter of moments, the Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Thomas is going to stop by. He was drafted in 2007. He was the 3rd overall selection by the Cleveland Browns, and it could have been one of the safest draft picks of all time because look what he was able to do in Cleveland, the face of that franchise, 10 Pro Bowls, 6-time first-team All-Pro, was on the 2010 All-Decade team, and obviously made the Hall of Fame very quickly after his career did come to a close. And now joining us, I think he's driving to Green Bay, Wisconsin, because he is announcing the 2nd-round selection of the Cleveland Browns, and that is the legendary Cleveland Brown, the legendary football player, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, in Joe Thomas, who's kind enough to join us right now. And I am told that he has a Hall of Fame beef company now, SixSpringsFarm.com, and Joe Thomas is with us on the Zach Gelb Show. Joe, appreciate it as always. How you been?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So tell me about this beef company. Usually I would do the promo item at the end, but you hear Hall of Fame beef company and Joe Thomas. I got to ask that right out of the gate.
Yeah, I did something right naming that since we're going right off the top with the promo. But now, my family farm, we raise Hall of Fame beef. Like I mentioned, it's all pasture to plate. I really got passionate about this after I retired because, I was so obsessed with being the best left tackle I possibly could be. And I was really searching for kind of something when I retired. And I thought, you know what do I really like to do? I like to eat a lot. I've got this awesome family farm in the Driftless area of Wisconsin. I've got this incredible pasture land that's right on the banks of the Blue River. And let's see, if money was not an option, how could I raise the best tasting beef that's the best for you on planet Earth? And I did that, thankfully. I completely stumbled into it just by happenstance with how we're raising them, how we're feeding them, all the food that's raised on our farm, from the corn silage to the alfalfa hay to the pasture that they're eating in the summer, and then just having some really great guidance. And then as soon as my family and friends were eating that, they're like, you need to sell this stuff because it's too good, and it's such a great story where normally people are eating food today, they have no idea where it comes from, and the beef gets shipped all over the country, getting born here and finished here. And for me, I was like, no, I want to simplify this and make sure if people are buying Hall of Fame beef, they know exactly where it's coming from. It's coming right from my farm. Everything's born there. We selected the best genetics that money can buy, and then they're raised their entire life until the truck comes and they go to heaven on my farm. And then they become delicious steaks and beef sticks and jerky and all the beef products you can possibly imagine. And you can get it all shipped right to your house from our website, Six Springs Farm. So I appreciate it. Let me go off the top and getting pretty excited off the jump.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. So we know you got the meats covered. Now you're in the car and you're heading over to Green Bay to go see the NFL draft. You'll be announcing the Browns' 2nd-round selection, the 33rd pick in the NFL draft. What is Joe Thomas like on this drive outside of just having a bunch of meat in the car? Like, you listen to a lot of music? What are you doing on this drive?
Yeah, I actually do have like 20 pounds of beef sticks that I'll be handing out to influential friends and family up in Green Bay, and some cheddar wurst for all my Wisconsinites that are certainly going to be tailgating out there. And, some of the other people, maybe even some Bears fans will let them in on it. But I do like to jam a little bit in the car. I'm listening to some podcasts like a lot of people, but sometimes, I like a lot of different types of music, and sometimes just putting on some reggae, some chill music like that just gets me in the right flow and the right vibe to just zone out and get up there to Green Bay, to Titletown, and get excited for the draft.
So obviously, we know your connection to Wisconsin and all that. So you're going back there. In 2007, you were the 3rd overall pick, one of the best draft picks ever with the career that you did go on to have. What do you remember on that night that your life really changed when the Browns made you the 3rd overall pick of the draft?
Well, I think I was one of the first people that said, the draft is awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me, but I got something that's already on the calendar. I'm going fishing with my dad today, and the NFL pushed back a little bit for a while, but I think they finally understood, like, when I say something, I'm going to do it. And this is more about spending time with my dad and doing something that I've loved for a very long time. And then, once I get drafted, that's when the work begins. I really kind of hated the idea that I saw a lot of draft picks ahead of me where they thought that the draft was the end of their journey, right? The work's over. I get my contract now. I'm going to get paid all this money, and I can just mail it in. And for me, I really didn't want that philosophy. For me, I wanted it to be, okay, I get drafted, take me out to Cleveland, and then now the work begins. And that's really the mentality that I brought to my career. And I think it paid off, obviously, in the end, making it to the Hall of Fame. And hopefully teammates remember me as that guy that just wanted to put his hard hat on, go to work. And it really didn't matter what the conditions were. I was there and I was going to show up and that they could count on me.
You know what? Maybe they needed you to show up to the draft because maybe then Jamarcus Russell wouldn't have been a bust with the number 1 overall selection because he could have used those words of wisdom.
Yeah, he was exactly the type of guy that I was not excited to be compared to. Hey, he got the big contract. Time to mail it in and eat Cheetos the rest of my career.
One of my producers is a Raiders fan, and he's fist pumping right now. The Pro Football Hall of Famer, Joe Thomas, is here with
beautiful.
us. So the Browns here at 2, there was a lot of speculation. People thought it could be Shedeur Sanders, then Abdul Carter. Right now, a lot of people believe it's going to be Travis Hunter. What would your thoughts be when the draft rolls around tomorrow night, if that is the pick that the Browns make at 2 with Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I think when I look at the top 5 picks in the draft, I always think if you don't have a need at quarterback and if you haven't identified a quarterback that you are sure is that game changer that your franchise needs, that you can count on him, that's, you know, as foolproof as he possibly can be at that position, I think then you just go with the best player available, because when you're picking that high, you can't afford to reach for a position of need. And if you're a good football player outside of quarterback, they'll find a way to get you on the field, and your team will be better. And that's what I see Travis Hunter as. So I really hope that they're going to pick him with number 2. I think everybody knows Cam Ward's probably going to go number 1. So to me, Travis Hunter's like, hey, if you need receiver, put him out there at receiver. Hey, if you need a cornerback, put him out at cornerback. Every team needs more good cornerbacks. And so he can kind of do everything for you. And I think that's so important when you're picking at the top of the draft. And it just so also happens that it is 2 positions of need for the Browns.
Yeah, and also you look at it, we know what he could be as a wide receiver. We know what he could be as a corner. I've heard Andrew Berry say they look at him as a wide receiver first, but I'm surprised around the rest of the league how much stubbornness there feels like, where this guy is one of one. We've never seen someone do it at this level, and people right away are saying, oh, he can't play both ways at the next level. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be tough to think that he'd be able to play the whole game both ways, just because it's so much more physical and violent, and it takes so much more preparation. Like, I think he's probably early on in his career fit enough to be able to play both ways, especially at those positions. Like, as a receiver, if you catch 10 passes, you're getting tackled maybe 8 times, right? It's not exactly like you're getting smashed at that position. However, I think the problem is I don't know if there's enough time in the day to be fully prepared and put in the film study to be able to play both positions full time. But I think what he would give you is, hey, you're a full-time receiver, which takes more prep than playing cornerback. But then you can put him out there in different packages. He can get 20, 25 snaps a game playing cornerback where you go, hey, Trav, you got that dude. And then he's just in man coverage. And I think he makes your team better out there. And I think that's a manageable 2-way play for a player like Travis Hunter. And I think even if he does that, it's something that's almost unheard of in NFL history.
Could you imagine if they find a way to also get Shedeur, and you get Shedeur and Travis Hunter on the same team once again?
Unfortunately, I never made the playoffs in my career as a Brown, and so as Browns fans, we always say the draft is our Super Bowl, and if that happened, we would win the Super Bowl this year.
Wow, like that would be you would be that excited about it, because some people, they have a little bit of a negative opinion on Shedeur. It seems like you're a believer of what Shedeur could be as a quarterback.
Yeah, I really like Shedeur. I mean, I don't think he's the right pick at number 2 because of all the things I said about Travis Hunter, but I think as a quarterback, I think he's got the most important trait, and that's decision-making and accuracy. You can turn that skill set into a great quarterback in the NFL. Now, are you going to be Patrick Mahomes without a huge arm and amazing athleticism? No, but look throughout NFL history at the best quarterbacks. What sets them apart is always their decision-making and their accuracy. The guys who are self-made, like the Tom Bradys, the Drew Breeses, that's what they did best. And if you can do that, you can have great success at quarterback, and that's what I see with Shedeur Sanders.
If let's just say they can't get Shedeur, and I think that'd be a heck of a job by Andrew Berry. So let's say Shedeur's off the board, Cam Ward's off the board. Is there another quarterback that you like? Because you hear some about Jackson Dart, and then there's a lot of speed and the big arm potential of a Jalen Milroe as well.
Yeah, so I like Jalen Milroe. The Browns are picking at the top of the second round, and I think if we were able to get him, that would be a huge coup for the team because in Kevin Stefanski's offense, it sounds like they're going to be going back to a little bit more of the play action, Kyle Shanahan type, wide zone, throw the ball with play action. And so it doesn't take as much of a polished quarterback to be really successful in that scheme because you have a lot more time after the ball gets snapped to get your receivers down the field. So you can really stretch the secondary deep, and it opens up a lot more windows and holes. And when you have a quarterback with a big arm, they have to respect him to be able to throw the ball 60, 70 yards down the field. And so I think he's a guy that actually would fit really, really well with the system that Kevin Stefanski wants to run in Cleveland.
Wrap it up with the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Joe Thomas. I watch Will Campbell a lot at LSU. I think he's going to be a very big player. But like we've heard it before with quarterbacks, small hands, offensive linemen, small arms. When you hear the small arm stuff with Will Campbell, how much of a concern is that, even though he has really good tape?
I got some PTSD because that's why I wasn't going to be a good NFL player. And I always found it so funny. You got these measurables, and, obviously always faster is better, stronger is better, longer arms, bigger hands are always better. But there's such a flaw in the measurement system for a lot of these combine tests. And, arm length is one of them. And I'll try to keep it brief because I've got a lot of scars about this one. But they measure from, like, the point of your shoulder to the tip of your middle finger. And when they say you have short or long arms, the difference is like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So if there's a guy that's got really long middle finger, he might have short arms, but he's got a long middle finger, and they call him long-armed. When really, if you look at how you play the position, nobody's poking the defense with their middle finger. Like, you're striking them with a bent arm, you're hitting them with the palm of your hand. And so, like, having 1 inch or 2 longer arms, yeah, it's better to be longer than it is shorter in life in general. But like, it really is. It's irrelevant. And the difference where we classify somebody with long arms or short arms is so small, it's insignificant. Now, if you're telling me a guy have 23-inch arms, I'd be like, okay, he's going to be at a significant disadvantage. But we don't see guys going out there like a boxer and punching people like that. Your arms and your hands are just a way to connect the defensive player to your feet, and you control people with your feet as an offensive tackle. So the whole arm length thing, to me, is ridiculous. And every year we get to talk about it, and they bring me on to talk about it. So I guess I can't be too mad about it.
Well, you must have had a long middle finger because you gave the middle finger to a lot of those scouts that said you had short arms with the career that you had.
Well, I guess maybe I just cut off my other fingers, so it looks a lot longer now. So perspective is everything in life.
Before we let you run, are you nervous to announce this draft pick in the second round?
It'll be my first time up on the stage during a draft pick, so I guess I'm not nervous right now, but certainly I'll be nervous. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin. I live there now, and, there's going to be a lot of friends and family that are there. My son's coming, my brother-in-law and his kids, so I think I'll probably be a little bit nervous. You're doing something that you've never done before. Sometimes it makes you a bit nervous.
I think it's easy what you do. You get up there, you play to the crowd. It's great to be home. And then you go, hey, this is for Zach Gelb. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. We get a little shout out. You play to the Browns fans, and I think you'll be fine.
Hey, I'll let you write my speech. Text that to me after the show, and for sure I'm going to get a rousing round of applause from all the cheeseheads and all the Browns fans in the crowd.
Yeah, just don't forget to plug the Zach Gelb Show and then also SixSpringsFarms.com, right?
Hey, I'm on board with those two things, so I think we got a deal.
Sounds good. SixSpringsFarm.com, once again, is Joe Thomas's Hall of Fame beef company. Joe, safe travels. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, brother. We'll talk to you later.
There you go, Joe Thomas. Always love talking to him, the legendary offensive lineman, the Pro Football Hall of Famer. How about that? Shedeur and Travis, they're able to get them both. That would be like the Browns winning the Super Bowl. That's a good quote. All righty, we'll take a break. How are we talking about a few prospects? We know the creme de la creme prospects at each position. Who else stands out to me if you're not the best at your own position? I'll get to that on the other side. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on social media, Instagram and Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So what I want to do now, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, but before I tell you what we're going to do on this show, this NFL Draft Preview is sponsored by Ego, tools that deliver or exceed the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, and fumes. For any outdoor challenge, count on Ego, tools to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. Ego, power beyond belief. Just a quick programming note, by the way. Tomorrow, NFL Draft Day, Johnny Manziel. We are going to have not Johnny Manziel on the show, but Thomas Dimitroff will be joining us in studio.
the former NFL general manager, right at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. And then the 4 p.m. Eastern time hour, we are going to do a little morning show with the afternoon show in the afternoons. So we will have Andrew Perloff from the Maggie and Perloff extravaganza right here at 4 p.m. Eastern time, also in studio. Look at that dedication to Perloff, by the way. Doing the morning show, going home, then coming back in to do a little draft talk with us at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we did our mock draft earlier with our NFL insiders from 10 different cities. And Cam Ward, Paul Kaharski, took Cam Ward to Tennessee, expected. Travis Hunter did go to Cleveland via Adam the Bull, expected. How about Joe Thomas, by the way? You know, he did have some questions about Travis Hunter and how much can you play both ways at the next level, but he thinks he's the best player on the board, and they don't love any of the quarterbacks. But him saying, hey, if you get Travis Hunter and then Shedeur Sanders later on, that would be like the Browns winning the Super Bowl. That's a line. Abdul Carter, Sean Marash, the Thictator, did make his return to this network. And he had Abdul Carter going to the Giants, who I think is the best player in the draft. Then Fitzy got a little funky. He got real funky. Took Ashton Jeanty to the Patriots. Hey, Stu, let me ask you a question. Because you were getting your hopes up for Shedeur. And then Shedeur is going to be available, but it seems like you guys are going to pass on him. Then you got your hopes up on Ashton Jeanty. And now it seems like Ashton Jeanty could be going to the Jaguars. I know in our mock draft he went to the Patriots. I'm not buying that. But do you think the Patriots should consider Ashton Jeanty over Will Campbell? What do you think about that?
I hadn't thought of that. I actually didn't even think that was an option. I thought the Raiders at 6 was the highest he would go, and now we're talking 5 and 4 to the Jaguars or Patriots. I think, assuming Hunter and Carter are gone, which I think is probably the likely scenario, I still think you guys should go offensive line to protect Drake May.
So I don't hate it. And I know people are like, oh, Zach, you don't like Will Campbell. You call him alligator arms. It's a joke, right? Like, it's a little fun, right? You have a little humor. I'm good with Will Campbell. But if you tell me we could get Ashton Jeanty, I didn't think about it. But the way that I kind of said it to Fitzy, when Mike Vrabel had it rocking in Tennessee, who was his guy? Meet like an average quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, who played well, but he was average. And you had Derrick Henry. You had King Henry. Now, I look at Ashton Jeanty, and I told this to him back in September, that he's a combination of Alvin Kamara, Marshawn Lynch, and King Henry. So, yeah, I would be good with it. If I think I'm going to record myself with the 4th overall pick. Because if at 3, Abdul Carter doesn't go, and he's there, I will then be screaming at the television, Elliott Wolf, you better take Abdul Carter. I will demand for Elliott Wolf to be fired if Abdul Carter is there at 4, which I don't anticipate him to be, in the Patriots pass on him. But then when it comes to 4, the video could be underwhelming because if it's Will Campbell, that's kind of what I'm expecting right now. But if somehow it ended up being Ashton Jeanty, as one of the leaders of the Ashton Jeanty fan club and one of the first people, I think the first person nationally to jump on board the Ashton Jeanty train, and I was leading that train all throughout the season, going back to the summer, choo-choo, I would be thrilled. And I already have Ashton Jeanty gear from Boise, so that would be good. Jaguars to Tedora McMillan. I do think that's where Genty's going to go, but you like how quickly I just said that name, Stu? Tedora McMillan, right?
Oh, yeah. I still can't pronounce it.
Now, Santa told me to just call him Tet McMillan. Now, I watch a lot of college football. I've just been going McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. But I could do Tet McMillan. Someone will slip up on the draft coverage and they'll say a word that is not Tet. And it will be a little bit of a different word and then it will go viral. But if the Jaguars take Tet McMillan, I'm good with it because it gives another strong presence for Trevor Lawrence. Like Brian Thomas Jr. being the pick there. Oh, remember, he joined us last year. He joined us last year before the draft. He was a terrible pre-draft interview. I think he called me sir about 45 times, and that's the only thing that I can remember from the interview. The actual interview stunk. But him on the football field was dynamite. If you could have McMillan and Thomas, Trevor Lawrence, you better succeed. But I do think he's going to get the safety blanket of Ashton Jeanty just because, Stu, you would agree there's a bizarre amount of smoke now, just out of nowhere. Like, and hey, we've had years where Will Levis, there's been smoke with him going 1 and everyone knew he wasn't going 1. And like rumors, CJ Stroud was going to fall. This Jeanty smoke is so bizarre to the Jaguars where no one talked about it for 3 months and now everyone's talking about it. I think there not only are legs here, I would actually be surprised if the Jaguars don't take Jeanty at this point.
Yeah, it seems like that. And you're right. It really came out of nowhere. I saw it yesterday and I was like, really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about it.
No, me neither. I thought the Raiders were the highest he would go at 6.
Talking about your Raiders, our guy Vinny Bonsignor, he takes Armin Membu. You good with that?
I'm fine. If they're not getting Jeanty, go with an offensive lineman.
Now, I thought he didn't go Will Campbell there. Will Campbell was on the board. You're not a Will Campbell fan?
No, I am. I guess I have slightly less concerns about the arm length, even though they're pretty close, believe it or not, based off the combine readings of it.
How about the measurement of the middle finger?
That's funny. That's a great line.
I thought Joe Thomas was like making a joke there.
Me too.
And that's why then I said to him, hey, like you gave the middle finger to everyone in the NFL, but he's being dead serious. That shows you how stupid that is. Like, if people were concerned about Joe Thomas's arm length, it worked for him. I'm not saying it's something going to work for Will Campbell, but I don't think arm length is going to be the reason why Will Campbell can't succeed at the next level. That would just be me. So you're on board if the Raiders end up going arm Membu because it's offensive lineman and safety. Like, offensive linemen like starting pitchers. You can't have enough of them, and the Raiders have a lot of holes in there.
They need offensive linemen. They need like 2 or 3 probably.
So if it's not Jeanty at 6, you're basically saying, okay, I'm good with it just being like, you prefer, like, would you rather Mason Graham still available? That's shocked. Mason Graham didn't go in the top 10.
Yeah, Mason Graham's an interesting one. It's probably other than tight end, it's probably their least need.
Because you got Max Crosby in that defensive line, and then
Wilkins.
Yeah, Wilkins though got hurt last year.
He did, foot injury. He missed most of the year.
And isn't it kind of Raidery? You give big money to someone, and then the person ends up not like Christian Wilkins. Remember that Clemson with the splits and the Dolphins? He was pretty good too. It would be like very Raidery for Christian Wilkins to just end up being a bum the rest of his career.
Yeah, it would. It definitely would.
So Raiders go Armin Membu. Jets Tyler Warren. I was surprised that BT would rather have the offensive line. Now, that could be good football sense. Don't get me wrong. But BT for the Jets, Brandon Tierney, who I used to know for many years in this time slot, I would think Jet fans would rather have Tyler Warren. I ended up going Tyler Warren because he really likes Armin Membu. He didn't go Will Campbell, so I don't know how much he loves the offensive lineman trend. But you take a glance at Tyler Warren. I have, like, if you're a Jet fan, you have Justin Fields. It's a 1-year tryout. Oh, I could ask him to this question. He's a Jet fan. Sorry, you change so often, I forgot there. If it's between Will Campbell or Tyler Warren, or Armin Membu or Tyler Warren, like let's say one of those two guys are there, would you rather have the Jets draft Tyler Warren where you could then have Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Tyler Warren? Those are 3 really good playmakers for Justin Fields. Or would you rather say Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are enough? You know, you still need a little extra oomph, but I'd rather beef up the offensive line. You got Fashanu last year. Then you could go get Membu or Will Campbell. Figure out where you're going to play everyone on the offensive line and rather give them the protection than the extra playmakers.
No, 100% Ty Warren, because last year I wanted Brock Bowers, and they went with Fashanu over Bowers, and I thought it was a mistake. I get it that
worked
you
out for Stu. Didn't work out for you.
Well, yeah, but a mistake for the Jets.
No. And he can still be a good player, to be clear.
Sure. And Fashanu, who's been very good. Mm-hmm. That's not the issue. I just wanted Brock Bowers. I thought that he would have been the missing piece for that offense. It would have been such a huge thing. You think about how impactful some of these tight ends can be. Now, I do have PTSD with the Jets drafting a Penn State tight end top 10 with Kyle Brady when we could have had Warren Sapp.
You were at that draft, right?
I was at that draft. I was very upset. We were chanting, "We want Sapp, we want Sapp." We went Kyle
Last
Brady.
time anyone ever said that about Warren Sapp.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
We want Sapp. We want Sapp.
My
off
new best friend who wouldn't even shake my hand. Anyway. But with that said, we drafted Elijah Vera Tucker. We drafted Joe Tippmann in the second round as a center. We've made a lot of draft. Mekhi Becton obviously didn't work out with us until he went to the Eagles and now with the Chargers. But like we spent a lot of top 15 picks over the past 5-6 years on offensive linemen. It's time for us to like get more of that skill position out there early on. I think Ty Warren, like Brock Bowers, is a generational type talent. I would go with that over the 2 offensive linemen.
I don't know if so. Generational talent, that's a big word.
As a tight end.
So when I think Tyler Warren, and you say generational talent, like Brock Bowers, you know what's so funny? I was so in on Brock Bowers, and then I saw him at this is how stupid the draft process is. I saw him at the Super Bowl, and I go, who is this guy? Like, how many times I've watched Brock Bowers, seen Brock Bowers, and I saw him in person, and he was walking around, and I finally found out who it was, and I go, that's Brock Bowers? I'm out on Brock Bowers. And then Brock Bowers, we were all able to have a Hickey moment here or there. Brock Bowers, he ends up becoming arguably one of the greatest rookie tight ends that we've ever seen. So that was a sensational season out of him. When I think generational talent at tight end position, I think of Tony Gonzalez. I think of what Antonio Gates became. I think of, obviously, Rob Gronkowski, right? If you look back at the last 15, 20, 25 years of tight ends, like Travis Kelce ended up being generational too. I just think Tyler Warren is very good at multiple things. Where, like, there's just some dudes that are just football players, right? And he has to pick a position and he's tight end, but you can line him up in the slot. He could be very productive. He could block. Like, he's not elite at blocking, but he's good at blocking. And then also, you know how the Chiefs sometimes do this? They line up Kelce right behind the center and they just snap the ball. He could do that as well. So maybe you're right. Maybe that is generational. Like, I don't know if he's elite at everything, but he's very good at everything. And you put him in an offense where it's still a question if Justin Fields could throw the ball or not. But Justin Fields could run. Tyler Warren could block. You have Wilson and Warren. One are going to get more looks because there's attention on both of them, and you got to pick one or the other. And then you get Breece Hall, who could just gash you up and down the field. I think Warren has to be the pick here. I really do. Jalen Walker, 8 to the Panthers. They need more help on defense. You got Derek Brown, who was hurt last year. You got J.C. Horn, who is very good, but his availability is in question always. So taking Jalen Walker here, I don't have a problem. I would not be opposed, though, if Mason Graham's on the board for the Panthers to also get Mason Graham here and you pair him up with Derek Brown next to Mason Graham. But you take the linebacker and Jalen Walker, no complaints with me. Michael Williams, 9 of the Saints. He has one of the more fascinating draft profiles because Michael Williams, I've seen him in certain mock drafts be 8 or 9. And then I've also seen him go all the way to like 27 or 28 and fall. More recently, though, it's been in the top 15. I think Michael Williams to the Saints at 9 would be a fine prediction. But once again, it's like, okay, you didn't take Mason Graham. You could have gone offensive line. They didn't do that. And also, the Saints, I guess they are going to pass up on a quarterback. And then Will Campbell being at 10 to the Bears. I have no problem with that. Like, I look at the Bears in this mock draft. David Hall took Will Campbell. And as we had 10 experts on, we had Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans, Paul Kaharski, Adam the Bull, Travis Hunter, the Cleveland Browns, Sean Marash, Abdul Carter, the Giants, Fitzy from WEI to the Patriots, Jaguars, Tet McMillan, and that was via our guy, JP Shadrick. You had Vinny Bonsignor, Raiders, Armin Membu, Brandon Tierney took Jets, Tyler Warren, Bone from WFNZ took Jalen Walker to the Panthers, Bobby Hebert took Michael Williams to the Saints, and then we did have David Hall and Will Campbell to the Bears. If Jeanty and Warren aren't there, and I think if Jeanty and Warren are there, you gobble them up. I don't think they will. Then Will Campbell, you can't have enough offensive linemen. You address the offensive line, but like Sampson knows, how many times have the Jets said they revamped their offensive line and they haven't? So you can make changes. I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if you had the best offensive lineman, in my opinion, in the draft. Will Campbell right there with the Bears. So we got kind of the feature players there. Like, to me, we talked so much about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders already. Jalen Milroe, to me, I then think is a fascinating quarterback because you look at him, he could run so quick. He has blazing fast speed. He has a big arm, but the big arm, it's either all or nothing. I did this analogy on The Fan the other day, and supposedly it was a good analogy because the bosses came out to me and they're like, oh, that was a wonderful take that you had. Terry Collins once told me about Jacob deGrom. Like, his stuff was so elite, but then there's certain games you don't have your stuff, and that's when you become a pitcher. When you don't have all your great stuff and you're able to pitch around that. That's what Jalen Milroe needs to figure out. He needs to become a quarterback because there are days where he looks like a great quarterback and he's so elite. And then there's other days where he hits the floor and doesn't know how to stand up off of it. There needs to just be some middle ground games. There need to be some games where you don't have your best stuff.
that you don't just end up being the guy that's on the floor and you just find a way to float and you find a way to keep your team in a game. So I'm intrigued about Jalen Milroe. We talked so much about Jeanty. Omari and Hampton, I can't wait to see where he goes. I think he'll be in the first round. Mac Brown said he's the best running back he's ever coached, which is crazy when he said that before the start of the season because he coached Ricky freaking Williams. And I reminded Coach when we talked about that. Wide receivers, Travis Hunter is the preeminent one. Ted McMillan, I can't wait to see where he goes because that's been another guy that's had such a wide-ranging look in the first round. I've seen some people say as early as 5, other people in the late teens or maybe even early 20s. Colston Loveland. So I'm a Michigan guy. I'm not a huge Colston Loveland fan, and I just never see him really pop off at Michigan, like consistently. Now, they were a run-first offense, and last year they didn't have a quarterback. So maybe tough to evaluate him, but there's some talk about him maybe going to the Colts, maybe him going to the Bears, and obviously we know the first tight end off the board is going to be Tyler Warren. Armin Membu, I can't wait to see what happens with him. You know, I don't think it's crazy to say that he could be a 6 potential pick in the draft. I think that's the highest to the Raiders, like how we did go in our mock draft that we did with our insiders. Will Campbell to me is the best offensive lineman, though. Armin Membu, even you heard the way Roman Harper talked about him from the SEC Network, very high praise. Defensive lineman. I'm fascinated by Kenneth Grant. I saw Schrager mock Kenneth Grant. I think it was to the Chargers. Harbaugh connection makes sense. He opened so much up for the rest of that team this year. Him and Mason Graham. I'm just fascinated by where Kenneth Grant goes. I think he's going to be a very good player. Edge rushers. I take a look at Marshall. There's been a lot about Mike Green. And that's another guy sometimes right after combine top 10, now probably the middle of the first round. I'm very curious to see what the career is of Mike Green. And finally, when we get to the secondary, Malachi Starks. Wherever that guy goes, Ricky Ricardo came up to me. And he goes, if the Eagles get him, Georgia guy, Howie Roseman did it again. And it's tough to really refute that. And we had Aaron Murray on when we talked about all these Georgia players in the draft. And Aaron Murray said if I had to pick one that was going to be the most successful, and I think a lot of them could be successful, it would be Malachi Stark. So those are some other looks at some other guys in the draft. All righty. We will take a timeout. We'll do the Ask the Pros question on the other side. It's also a Wednesday. This is a crazy Wednesday show. We had Ryan Hickey on with his crazy take that Will Howard's the second best quarterback in this draft. That was wild. Then we had our 10 NFL insiders on from 10 different cities for the mock draft. And then Joe Thomas joined us on his drive to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Hey, Stu, do you think he's actually going to mention our show? When he did the Here We Go Brownies, he liked the idea. He said, text it to me. You think it's a possibility?
I think it's a possibility. I wouldn't guarantee he does it.
10%?
Yeah, like 10, 15%. Okay. Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance? He's a regular guy. If there's one guy that's announcing all these picks that would do it. Now, if Leroy Butler is there, I haven't looked, then that would be a different topic of conversation because Leroy once he had vodka, Leap Vodka. He had some guy from Maryland get in a car and drive me 4 bottles of Leap Vodka. And then he handed them to me, and I may or may not have dropped one of them because they put too many bottles of vodka in my hand. Yeah, I still had 3 bottles, but one did hit the floor, and some guy in New York City probably licked the vodka up off the street, if I'm being honest. So maybe we get a little mention there from Joe Thomas. That would be nice. But also, it is a Wednesday, so we do Take 5 Wednesday next. The 5 biggest NFL draft busts. We get to that on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Oh, it's never too early to look ahead to the 2025 NFL season, and the preseason kicks off July 31st with the Hall of Fame game. It will feature the Chargers after former tight end Antonio Gates is enshrined in Canton. They'll face the Lions. 25 games into the baseball season, the best team in baseball, the New York Mets, who won again today at home. Their 7th in a row. They're now 12-1 at Citi Field. They rallied with 2 in the bottom of the 10th to beat the Phillies 4-3. Reese Olson and 2 relievers combined on a 2-hitter. The Tigers blanked the Padres by a score of 6-0. The Yankees topped the Guardians 5-1 in the series finale, while the Reds defeated the Marlins by a score of 5-2, and the Braves 4-1 winners over the Cardinals. NBA playoff action tonight. Game 2 in Boston, with the Celtics looking to go up 2-0 on the Magic, while the Cavaliers host the Heat after taking Game 1 easily, and the Warriors stun the Rockets in the series opener. Game 2 in Houston tonight, with the third-seeded Rockets looking to even this series. The New York Rangers are looking for a head coach, but not a general manager, as Chris Drury gets a multi-year extension despite the team missing the playoffs following a President's Trophy season. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Terry Wilson in the YouTube chat says, Zach, what do you think my Niners will do at 11? I would be all in favor of Will Johnson. I just don't know if Will Johnson's going to go at 11 with some of the injury concerns, but I think he is a top 10 talent. If Armin Membu or Will Campbell somehow fall out of the top 10, I think that's an option at 11 as well, but I wouldn't anticipate it. Heck, if Mason Graham falls out of the top 10, which our experts indicated that would be the case, I think he's third best player in the draft. Also, Peter Schrager thinks he's going to 13. I think then you just take him because he's the best player available. But I could also see defensive end, like edge rushers, be the case there for the San Francisco 49ers as well. Shamar Stewart could be an option. You could also maybe look at a Mykel Williams if he's still on the board, or even Mike Green if he's still on the board as well. You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSports or at Zach Gelb, or in our YouTube chat using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All righty. Time to get to a little Take 5 Wednesday.
The football season might be over.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is.
But don't you worry, there are still rankings to be made. So get ready as Zach gives you his top 5 in this week's special edition of Take 5 Wednesday.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff.
Alrighty, here's the topic today. The top 5 biggest busts in the history of the NFL draft. Now, just because you're a first-round pick, I don't think that means you're a bust. Like, if you go 26 overall, I don't crush you if your career doesn't pan out. I think, like, if you're in the top 10 picks of the draft, that's where I really look at it. That's, like, big bust potential. In at number 5, Charles Rogers, the wide receiver back in 2003, that was the 2nd overall pick in the draft. The Lions had some bad wide receiver draft choices. They made up for it with Calvin Johnson. He was in the league 2003, 2004, 2005. Then that was it. He had 36 career receptions. Akili Smith, the former quarterback, he was taken 3rd overall out of Oregon back in 1999 to the Cincinnati Bengals. His completion percentage, 46.6%. He had 5 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Let me say it for everybody. Oof, that's ugly. Trey Lance. Not only did the 49ers use the 3rd overall pick on him, they gave up so much future draft capitals, first-round pick after first-round pick, to go get him. They originally thought they were going to draft Mac Jones. Then they took Trey Lance. And Trey Lance, had 2 games, then got hurt, and then basically was never the guy once again in San Francisco. And I think he was last with the Cowboys. I think he's a free agent this year. I don't know if he signed on anywhere. It's never good when you don't know where a guy is and he hasn't been drafted that long ago. He signed with the Chargers? Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah, he's with the Chargers right now. But he was the 3rd overall pick in 2021, and I don't think anyone really cares about his career moving forward. All righty.
The next two, they're the most obvious. It's how do you order them, 1 or 2, or is it 2 or 1, comparing on the player that we give you. Ryan Leaf, I'm going to put him at 2. So Ryan Leaf had 14 touchdowns to 36 interceptions. He, especially with what happened with Peyton Manning and always those comparisons, that will always be talked about. Second overall pick in 1998. It was just such a disaster, an unmitigated disaster. But the reason why I put Jamarcus Russell in at number 1, Jamarcus Russell just didn't give a crap. Like, when you're not studying the playbook and they give you a CD or whatever it was and it was blank and you say, my Siri just went off because I said CD. And you go, oh, yeah, I looked at it and you didn't even do so. That's pretty bad. Now, obviously, Ryan Leaf had a lot of off-the-field problems. But Ryan Leaf got into the NFL in 1998, and it's crazy. The last time he was on a team, like offseason or something, was 2002. Jamarcus Russell, 2007, 2008, 2009, never even given another opportunity, which is just wild, wild, wild. So Charles Rogers in at 5, Akili Smith in at 4, Trey Lance in at 3, Ryan Leaf in at 2, Jamarcus Russell in at 1. Honestly, you could swap Jamarcus and Leaf. I don't think it matters, but those two are the obvious ones. All right, Santa, speak now, forever hold your peace.
I'll go through pretty quickly. A guy I know that you liked, 2008 draft, 6 overall by the Jets, Vernon Gholston, who had 0 sacks. Oh, I'm sorry. Did not do much as far as his career. Was out of the league in 3 years.
Yeah, he stunk. And that's my first hot take with the draft. I thought Vernon Gholston was going to be a stud. I just think the other positions are a little bit more important when you look at quarterback. Obviously, 4 of those guys being quarterbacks, and then Charles Rogers was the 2nd overall pick in the draft.
And I was correct. I thought I was misreading the stat. No. 0 sacks in his career for Vernon Gholston.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Another
stunk. One.
He was a big 0.
Yeah, big 0. Back in 2013, 3rd overall pick by the Dolphins, Deion Jordan is another name that stands out to me. The dude played 6 years, never had more than 4 sacks after being the 3rd overall pick. Was gone in Miami after 2 years, kicked out of the league, went to the Seattle, Oakland, San Francisco. He was terrible.
He was terrible. You could make a case that he should be in the top 5 just once again. You look at a 3rd overall selection, so it's definitely up there. It just, the quarterbacks have so much more value, and all those were 3 or better. And then Charles Rogers was 2. So it's just, I think it's just the value there of 2 and it being a wide receiver.
Then you have Kevin White. Obviously, he had injuries, but he only had a total of 28 catches for 397 yards over his career as the number 7 overall pick.
So I remember a lot about Kevin White. He had so much potential, and we know what he did at West Virginia, and the rise was so crazy in the story. It was just, was he going to be able to put that potential and reach that potential and put it all together? I always just thought that there was going to be a limitation with Kevin White in the league, and I always had concerns about him. So, is that it?
Got 2 more quick ones real quick. Both quarterbacks.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned one.
Yeah,
who's
Tim
not a
Couch,
quarterback.
number 1 overall pick for the Cleveland Browns. Only had 1 season, really, where he was a main starter and threw more touchdowns than interceptions. And then, of course, one of the greatest all-time college quarterbacks, Matt Leinart, went 10 to the Cardinals and did nothing in the NFL.
Yeah, Leinert's definitely up there. Couch, at least he made an all-rookie team. At least, I'm not saying that, hey, we're saying what disease would you rather have when talking about some of these guys. I'm surprised Mike Mamula was never mentioned. Angelo Cataldi, when I was at Inter, I was like, that Mike Mamula. Anyway, Greg Frank, Samter, thank you so much. Also, big thanks to all the insiders, Joe Thomas, Ryan Hickey as well. We'll talk tomorrow on Draft Day. It's finally here. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.